Every time I speak, I want the truth to come out. You know what I'm saying? Every time I speak, I want to shiver. You know, I don't want them to be like, they know what I'm going to say because it's polite. And even if I get in trouble, ain't that what we're supposed to do? I'm not saying I'm going to rule the world or I'm going to change the world, but I guarantee that I will spark the brain that will change the world.
Good morning to you, Brother Auston.
Good morning. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. Can't complain too much anyway. So I'm going to try to kind of go over all of the major, basically, I have a paradigm here, and my paradigm is say versus system. And so there's a lot of different things that have been in the news recently, and I'm just kind of going to run through that using the paradigm that I've got. And then we can kind of like go in and see what we think about it. If we agree, if we disagree, if we have anything that we want to add on it, and then we can go from there.
Okay.
Cool beans. But what's been going on recently in your life?
I just got through debating at a cookout. I didn't think I was going to be debating, but I just did.
Are you talking about in America or in Kenya or in Africa?
No, we had a barbecue cookout that happens like every 2 or 3 months here in Kenya. It's actually great. If you ever come to Kenya, you need to come to it. It's called Barbecue Bandits. There was a Black American guy. We had a respectful debate because we talked afterwards and laughed, but we debated the Karmelo case, which my blood pressure gets up when I talk about that one. So
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, me too, bro.
Yeah. So
it's real close, doesn't it?
It was cool. It was respectful. He disagreed. I think his viewpoint is dumb, but it's respectful.
Well, wait, y'all don't understand. Like, see, Austin has a different kind of opinion on the whole like Karmelo thing. But like we can get into that a little bit later though. Like, because I'm not really gonna like go heavy. The thing that people end up doing is they end up going like super heavy into the details. And they'll go into like this superficial thing, and then they won't go and then look at like the story underneath the story, you know, because there's something else going on there.
What story was that?
That's gonna be a part of what we're gonna get into here. Gotta save the suspense.
Okay. Well, I'm
gotta entice them somehow, man. You gotta entice them somehow.
All right, let me see if I can bring up this. Add this to stage, and let me take this other stuff down. We were talking about something. We were talking about something else earlier, and what we were talking about was basically this event that happened in Baton Rouge. But you need to be there for that. It's a sad case where a kid ended up jumping in and kind of getting involved with something with a female friend, and he ended up getting basically beat and deleted. And maybe he might be in a landfill somewhere. They're looking for him, and that's where they think that he's at. But this kind of brings me to mind into this whole idea of like say versus system. Like we have a whole lot of we have kind of like a tendency to get into people getting into red pill ideas for relationship space where we actually interrogate what a person says versus what they actually are observed doing, but we don't necessarily apply that to also systems that are in our culture and that are in our society. And we need to start implementing some of that critical thinking. So I have this paradigm that I call say versus system. So most people, for the most part, they end up kind of dealing with these debates that fail because they compare stories. They just, here's my story, here's your story, here's my truth, here's your truth. They don't compare systems. So every institution will try to tell you what to believe, you know, whether it's a government, whether it's a company, whether it's the media, the police, universities, political parties. But there's another question here. Like, should we believe them by what they say, or should we believe what they consistently produce? And so
who's them?
The system, whichever system, which system we're actually talking about in which organization. So today we're introducing something called the say versus system model. And what we're going to do here is we're going to test this across completely different topics that are not necessarily related. So now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to give this framework instead of opinions. And we're just going to use this framework to get to a conclusion. And so basically, when I say versus system, a system will say that it promises, there's a mission statement, there's narratives, there's marketing, there's this official explanation. But then when we have it actually produces, we end up with actual incentives, actual behavior, actual outcomes, patterns, and what I call second order effects. So these narratives will end up kind of be used to explain intentions, but the system, and actually looking at the system, will explain the outcomes. And what we end up with our media coverage ends up becoming very focused on what happened and maybe possibly, if they're good enough, why it happened. But they don't get into what that reveals about the system. They don't really necessarily transition to what happens next and what should we actually do about it on a bigger global scale.
Okay.
And so what we're going to do here is we're going to look at these. I guess let me go ahead and make this a little bit bigger because I don't think everybody can see the last one. So we're going to look at equal justice under the law, which is our justice system. We're going to look at protect and serve, which is law enforcement. We're going to look at representation, which is basically government and for the most part politics. Unity, which is the community. And then finally, we're going to look at innovation and progress if we have time.
I'm standing on one thing. I'm gonna say one thing about that equal justice. Like I said earlier, she wear that cloth and say she blind, but let you not be the right shade. I guarantee you that justice stick or that sword gonna hit you unfairly every time, man. So I still stand on that.
I don't know, man. If you want to make it about race, I have an older brother, and I was just telling the story. I have an older brother that shot somebody 6 times behind the argument. They were arguing, and he decided he's going to shoot him 6 times. My brother got 4 years. Anthony Karmelo just got 35 for killing somebody.
We can actually get into that one too. As a matter of fact, you all are on the right one. Like, let me see if I can potentially do this. I'm going to try to see if I can play something that I had, but I didn't have it like up and running, like ready to go. But so I'll have to end up going and then finding the darn thing. But it's basically that. It's about Karmelo. And I could just go ahead and just give like a little synopsis, really, honestly. I don't have to go into like the whole play my video type deal. One of the things that we ended up doing over there with the Karmelo case is that we ended up kind of arguing about like whether he should have a knife at a school event or not. And then everybody just collapsed a lot of their argument down to that. But then we ended up pointing to like some of these other cases, like we end up,
I mean, that was basically confirmation bias,
Yeah. Like, I mean, so like I got like stuff like in my comment section and stuff, because I have like a bunch of videos, over here about that. And like basically like the damn thing is that the thing is that you'll have those same people that were talking about, oh, hey, Karmelo had a knife, and then we'll bring up, okay, well, what about Kyle Rittenhouse? He was in one state, went to a whole nother state
with an AR-15.
So he goes and he gets into like this volatile situation voluntarily, gets the firearm, and people are arguing that, oh, well, he didn't traverse like different states with that same firearm. He picked it up over here.
I would say he was not old enough. And they claim that the AR-15 was purchased on his behalf by another person. I would argue this. What point was there for he and the group that he was with to come down to that county in a nearby state? And why didn't law enforcement tell them to pack up and get up out of there? And if we need backup, we can just always ask for help from officers from nearby counties, or call in the SWAT or that state's National Guard. You coming into an area and you're just going to further exasperate it by your presence. A presence nobody asked for.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's true. But like, so that's just kind of like one drop in the bucket. You see what we're doing here? We're still on like the whole like superficial level, because there's actually a whole lot more to it than that. Like, we could start talking about like Case and Allison and say, okay, well, so Karmelo only did like one jab, but then you had like him with like several, and then people will argue, well, but when you look at the context, then they kind of like lock him in the room, or wasn't he like getting like really beat up real bad? So maybe he kind of had to, like, yeah, you end up with all of these different cases that people end up talking about. Then they'll end up talking about Daniel Penny and say, and then they'll say, huh? What way?
Wait, can I respond to that? What you just said?
Go for it.
So you're talking about, so when you're comparing Karmelo Anthony to the white kid, I forgot his name. That was they met up to fight in the bathroom, but one kid decided he was going to kill him instead of fighting him. But you can't really compare those, because they knew each other and they both agreed to fight in the bathroom. That's how they both ended up there. It's just one had a different intention. Karmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf didn't even know each other.
They knew each other. They had pictures with each other, so they knew each other.
Well, but anyway,
photos. Where are these photos at?
They've been online for about at least a good month now. I mean, you just have to go look for them. I'm not personally.
So where did the photos come? Like, how did they know each other?
Instagram, and also the girl that he was dating was also his ex, the Metcalf twins' ex, or something like that. So they have at least 3 points of knowing each other.
Why would
the plot thickens?
Why would you be hanging out with I don't hang out with my ex's like former boyfriends.
I mean,
no. I don't think he's not saying that they hung out. Austin. What he's saying is there was somebody they knew mutually, but there was also times where they would end up crossing paths. For under certain circumstances, they just kept crossing paths. But that doesn't mean they were hanging out.
But see, this all still like adds to my point. Like, we're still kind of like going on the whole superficial thing about is this case over here like that case over there? And then what we end up going through is like we have like end up having several cases where we can point to that. Okay, well, this case in Allison, he got like maybe like 2 years and then plus some probation. And then we end up with this other case where Daniel Penny walks and nobody was actually touched until Penny goes and kills somebody. Or we can end up talking about Kyle Rittenhouse, where he deletes multiple people. Or we can end up talking about Daniel Perry, where he actually goes and deletes multiple people at a protest and gets convicted. By a jury of his peers. And the governor says, nah, you can walk. Like,
I mean, I just got one case that pretty much that sums up what I'm saying, right? You had a officer lady, white lady, right? Go to her ex-boyfriend or boyfriend's apartment or whatever, right? She said she accidentally opened the door necessarily, right? Saw a strange man in her house, which clearly was not her place. And she said she shot him like 3 or 4 times. First off, how do you get into a building that's locked down without a key? And then 2, let's say, unless you have a key to open that door, how do you say open said door and then shoot somebody?
Oh, you talking about the Botham John case?
I can't remember the name of the case.
Yeah, that's the name. Botham John.
One had the complexion for the protection, the other one did not. That's the difference. I would have noticed.
The complexion. First of all, now I got to get my Paul Mooney voice on when I say this, but young brother Zulu. The name is the phrase is she had the right complexion for the collection and protection, but it also comes with the old phrase. What's that old phrase they have? 21, white and free. If anybody's familiar with that phrase as well. This is a white female who was over 21 and free and entitled.
Okay, I get you now. But like, so
hell,
basically, like,
hell, I'll even go further. If you remember what happened in the courtroom when she was convicted, what happened? You remember the bailiff and some of the people in the courtroom were black. The bailiff was like, rubbing her back, stroking her. The judge comes down and hugs her and gives her a Bible. Yeah. If the roles were reversed. If it was the convicted was a black woman, and the bailiff was a white woman, the judge was a white woman, the court reporter was a white woman, this, that, and the third, you would not have seen that kind of show of compassion.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
You wouldn't have seen that display of compassion.
I call that a show of submission. That is not a show of compassion. That is a show of submission.
Yeah, you talk about like the whole thing, like how they ended up like taking like Dylan Roof over to get some Mickey D's or something before taking him.
You just committed a murder, but hold on, I know you just committed and shot a couple people, but you need to get your energy up before you go to jail, my friend. Ain't never happened to me though. I mean, I got pulled over before.
They never took you to a Popeyes?
They never took me by Popeyes and let me get an extra $2.
Or Bojangle or something like that. Goddamn.
Never in my life had they ever stopped and got me something to eat.
The whole thing here is like we end up like pulling to all of these different cases, and then when we talk about all these other cases, then they say, oh, but the mitigating circumstances behind them. And then when we go and I look at my comment section, and they just boil it down to, he had a knife at school. He had a knife at school, and a person died. So therefore, he is guilty of murder. And I'm like, and everything else that's context related or nuance related, or what were you thinking, or what was going on, or anything else that has anything to do with, oh, are you on bleachers versus are you on the ground? If I shove you off while we're on some stairs and you fall downstairs, all of that stuff just kind of goes away. Is he epileptic? We don't care that he's an epileptic. Knife, body, M-E-R, didn't murder. That's what they call it. So this is where we get into what people are really talking about, because when they look at this case, they're really just using it as an avatar for the difference between what the system says and what the system actually produces. Because we can forget about this case entirely. We can just forget that this case ever existed. Like, it didn't need to hit our algorithm. The only reason that I see it, that I really saw it hit my algorithm the very first time, was while they were trying to push this whole narrative of black people going and doing some sort of a racial animus pattern towards white people. Like, that's what they were like really presenting that primarily in the time in the media for some weird reason. But what we actually see in reality is a whole justice system that gives black people disproportionate results in aggregate. Let's look at this. 13.4% longer sentences when we're talking about federal sentences for black men versus white men in the federal justice system. This isn't like some sort of hyperbole type of thing. This isn't some sort of, oh, this case versus that case type of thing, or look at the nuance type of thing and blah, blah, blah type of thing. This is what your system is producing. It's producing longer sentences for black men in aggregate.
Of course.
And this isn't all of it either. Like, when you end up going into why, like, there's an actual explanation for that too. That 13.4% is actually a part of a larger pattern of us actually getting incarcerated as opposed to just simply getting probation. And that's this over here. So black males, less likely to get probation and more likely to get incarceration. This is from the 2023 data. So you can actually look this stuff up. Like, this is like through the U.S. Sentencing Commission. And so what we're seeing here on the federal level, it might be even worse on the state level. From what I heard, it is actually worse in Texas. but I couldn't pull that up at the time.
You know what? I'm gonna save my words for the moment. I'm gonna save my words.
All of these cases, like when we, go ahead.
I mean, just like a prime example is like when a certain controlled substance hit the streets back in the 80s. Then they decided that there was going to be a different sentence if it was in the powder form than it was in the rock form. If you remember, if you know what I'm talking about.
I do.
I mean,
and people were like, how is that any different?
I mean, we could say that, but then you got Tupac talking about there's more whites smoking crack than blacks, right? So which one is it?
True.
Yeah, it's true.
Like we got to be honest. Which one is it? There's more white people on welfare than black people.
That's true.
That is true.
But what is and to your point, Mr. Holleman, is it Holleman or Hollerman? I keep getting your last name mixed up. Holleman. Okay, no R in there. Well, if I may call you Austin, I would say also that, you know, to inspire True's point, we look at the system, we're comparing the slogan or the facade to the reality, to the facts on the ground. So the narrative versus the slogan / narrative versus what's on the ground. And it's true that, hey, a large percentage of people who are on social assistance are Caucasian. But what is the narrative that we're trying to push? It's usually black women or black people they're trying to say who are on social assistance. The majority of people unemployed are from the greater society, but they always want to bring up, you know, black unemployment.
But it goes.
We have to understand that the. Go ahead.
I mean, sorry to cut you off. The bigotry that they put out goes down to ignorance. If you look up the recent poverty rate of Black Americans, is less than 20% of our population is in poverty. That is not what they make it seem like. I mean, if you listen to all this propaganda, you would think that every black person you know is damn near about to be homeless next week. Only 20% of our population is in that situation.
Well,
that's not that's half of what it would take to be. That's half of what it would take to be the majority of our population being in poverty.
Yeah, that's a point for that. Like the point for that is like the whole like status that we give to different groups. Like it's a status attack. So they'll present. It's a similar thing to when they try to say that, oh, I can't find any black men today because all the black men are in jail. And it's like, well, no, it's actually like 1 to 2% of us. It's not that we're all in jail. We're not.
You know that's the most funniest thing is because this literally we have women who said that all the black men are in jail. There's plenty of doctors out here. There's plenty of engineers out here. There's plenty of dudes in warehouses. There's plenty of dudes firefighters, policemen. Those dudes can't get a date. But surprisingly enough, you can go on TikTok and type in prison dates. Right, then you see women literally sending money on TikTok to random dudes in jail. No, girl, you prefer dudes that's incarcerated. That's
right there.
No, wait. Look, I have a clip. I wish I could find it. I have it somewhere in my files where there's a lady that's basically saying that she had to wait for months to get over there into see that dude that she was trying to, I guess, date or whatever. She goes and she gets with dude. She ends up getting pregnant for a dude that has like, ends up getting pregnant for the dude. He still has like 15 years on his sentence, and she ends up pregnant with twins.
Wow, hey, I think they had something similar to this in I think it was in the UK. Well, some lady, I think she was married, but she worked at the prison system. I think she got caught doing something let's say explicit with one of the guards. This is a married woman.
Yeah, I mean, those cases keep coming up. And on top of that, like even like in another one in BR where there was a dude that was like on trial for like or he was going to be on trial. He was arrested basically for deleting, unaliving people, right? So, and he's a rapper, and he's a whole rapper, right? He gets out because one of like the guards or something or whoever ends up like, I guess like somehow facilitating his means of escape, like to where there's some paperwork thing or whatever kind of saying that he could be like released or something. In any event, he ends up out on the street shooting a music video, and then they end up getting him back in jail.
To your point, folks, especially Zulu's point. First of all, you have to understand when women speak, they speak in a way that's purposely vague, because they still think we all think like they do when we don't. Men speak a certain way, women speak a certain way. Thank you. Shout out to the memory of Patrice O'Neal. And to Zulu's point, I just have to mention one name. If that name doesn't ring a bell, I can use the nickname for him. And that is Jeremy Meeks, aka Prison Bay. Because remember how everyone was every black one was oogling his mugshot, light skin with the light colored eyes, with the green eyes and everything.
Yeah, he's a whole model now. Let me keep on rolling because I don't want to get too off base.
Yeah.
All right. 53% of exonerated people are Black Americans. Like, so you go over here to the National Registry of Exonerees. So like more than half of your wrongfully convicted people who are exonerated are Black. We are only 13% of the population. That's your justice system. That's your equal protection under the law. Let me put a exclamation point on it. You are 7 times more likely to be wrongfully convicted for a crime you didn't commit if you are a Black American. That's your equal justice under the law. How you like your slogan? Is my mic on? I might be talking.
No, I'm listening. I just everybody just pause.
You gotta catch me because
we can hear you. We can hear you. All right, my bad. I'm sorry.
We got you. I will say this. First of all, regarding the 53% of people who've been exonerated. First of all, technology has come a long way. Forensic science in particular, DNA forensics as well, specifically. Because the number of people who've had their convictions overturned was through DNA testing and everything to prove that they didn't do it. And the question is afterwards and of course a lot of those states have to shell out, because a lot of those people, once they're exonerated, they take the state to court for wrongful imprisonment and whatnot, and that's going to break a lot of states. That's going to break the bank for a lot of states, or should I say, break their coffers. And for someone to be more likely. Black men being wrongfully convicted. Remember what I said earlier. Back in '94, they had a term for Black men. Of course, nowadays we say YN. And since the '94 crime bill, this has only further exacerbated the situation. So the slogan and the narratives they're still pushing is that Black men are criminal. Black men are dangerous. Black men are super predators. I remember, if anybody remembers, Balling for Columbine. Michael Moore in that documentary was explaining how fear sells, just like controversy, just like a 3-letter word that starts with S, just like horror, shock, all these sell. And oftentimes, whenever they were talking about a crime that took place in a certain area, they always say the suspect is a Black male. Those are that triggers people. Those are dog whistles.
Yeah, there were a lot.
So we understand
back there.
A lot of dog whistles. But in the 90s, even to the 2000s.
But then before I end up letting this point go, it's a very important point. The appellate process is an extremely difficult, long process. Like, appeals get declined on a very regular basis. It is a hard uphill battle to actually get yourself exonerated. Like, the vast majority of, like, a lot of these cases that you end up seeing come up in the news and where somebody was released, a lot of that time is because they ended up like taking a deal. They ended up like taking a deal that says that, oh, okay, well, you just go ahead and you'll plead to time served. instead of kind of continuing to escalate this to try to get yourself full on exonerated. And a lot of people will just go ahead and they'll just take that. There's even another one where there's I think I might have talked about it in one of my shorts. I need to make a long form of it, where we had a person that ended up getting not totally exonerated, but I mean, he was like well on his way to getting exonerated. He might have like taken some sort of a deal or something to get out, and then later on he got full on exonerated. But he ended up becoming like a lawyer, and then he ended up becoming like elected to be a judge, and then like the state is trying to take away his judgeship. But his whole thing is about getting people just access to their records, like because when he was trying to get like his records to like prove that he was innocent, or to prove his case and whatnot, he ended up seeing other people that were having problems getting access to their records. Like there's a whole big problem with just getting timely access to your records on just a basic level. I mean, that's the freaking system you have.
That's that's how the bureaucracy is designed. It's meant to be frustrating for certain people. That's why it's designed to be an uphill battle. Secondly, let's not forget that the majority of convictions are through a plea bargain, especially when the prosecution likes to add charges upon charges upon charges to overwhelm the defense. The defense realizes, and this is meant to make them break them, or make them try to break them mentally. And how many people are willing to? I mean, if you're doing a pro bono case, are you willing to put in that kind of work as you would if a client had you on retainment?
There was Johnny Cochran who had like he I think one of his main pet projects was trying to get one of the Black Panthers released, and it was like a ridiculous case where the FBI or whatever had like actual evidence showing that he was in a whole nother city at the time of that the person was unalived. Like the man was not even in the same town, and he still put him in jail for life. But eventually, I guess that was like one of the last things he got to get done or got accomplished, was like go ahead and getting this man out. But like the appellate process is terrible. It's hard. It's rough. It's an uphill battle. But let me get down to this last slide and let me ask you all what you think. Like based off of what we've seen, off of what the slogan is versus what we can see that the system produces. What the hell do we say the system produces? Do we have a disconnect between these two things?
I would like to say this,
but I gotta get Auston first. Let me start with Auston, and then we'll work our way clockwise.
Yes, sir. Go ahead. Yeah, either way.
Okay, so you're saying the slogan versus what it actually produces.
Yep.
I mean, yes, I am not going to sit here and deny that. Well, what I like to say is that when it comes to Black people in America, they follow the law with us, and with them, they have more passes and leeway. We do know that. I'm not saying that's otherwise, but I don't really disagree with the point.
Okay. All right. How about Tunnel Runner? Do you have a position on it? I think he might be busy.
He's not full of pancakes right now. He living a life.
Yeah, I guess he might be busy. Oh, look, there goes, we got a new one here. Hey, Trump's America. Let me hear you speak on it if you got time to give us your input. Have you caught any of this?
Hello?
Yep.
What's up, bro?
Oh, salute to you, gentlemen. Shout out to Trump. The system produces what it's supposed to produce, a caste system, right? Your middle class, your working poor, your lower class, your elite, right? This system is designed to keep people in classifications and classes. Everybody is at the behest of the system, regardless of skin color.
All right. Let me go on up to who's at the top.
Me.
Usual.
I look at systems like anything that's like a tree, right? You judge it. You judge a tree by what it produces, right? You don't call a fig tree an apple tree because it don't produce figs, right? It produces apples, right?
Right.
So I look at it that way, right? So you judge a fruit by what it bears. You judge a system by what it bears. So if it's giving you caste system vibes, or if it's giving you any, I'm trying to do unequal exchange of resources or anything like that, you call that an oppressive system or an unfair system. Either or. I'm also going to add this. Let's say it in the African way. So this will say because I actually deal with Africans a lot more on my end. Like in South Africa, like the amount of legals that can quote unquote legally cross into South Africa and get legal documents is crazy, right? I promise you, you cannot go into Mexico and get legal documents. If you go into Mexico illegally, they will be kicking you out very illegally. I promise you, they will drop you in the desert and give you a water bottle if they feel fortunate. But in America, you can come across the border and they give you full citizenship. You can be a non-South African and come to South Africa and get actual legal documents to stay here. I guarantee you, if you're a South African and you go to, let's say, Ghana and you're illegal, the Ghanaians will definitely show you this is our system and that's not over here.
Definitely. I think I got everybody in. All right, let's go to the next topic. This is going to be law enforcement. So what we're going to want to talk about here is Baby Kohen Wiley. He's a 1-year-old. Sadly, so let me give you a little bit of recap if you didn't catch that video. The baby was basically they ended up going to Walmart, right? So they go to Walmart, they get some diapers, they leave out of Walmart, they go to the car, and then so there's I guess some witnesses are saying that the cops were already out there. They get in the car, and then this is where things kind of get a little bit under dispute. But from the mother's standpoint, she basically lifted her baby up, showed them, hey, there's a baby in the car, and they still ended up shooting. Now, I guess the cops might dispute that claim. Their claim is that the car was going towards them, but they haven't released the body camera footage or the dash cam footage or the Walmart surveillance footage or any footage. Meanwhile, you have a dead 1-year-old right now. You have a community that is asking for the evidence right now. It was hell of urgent for them to go ahead and deal with this property loss allegation, but not so urgent to respond to what the community is requesting and saying. So let me go ahead and let's pull this slide up, and once again we'll try to figure out what's going on in terms of the say versus system here, because we say protect and serve, right? And we assume that protect and serve is for the public, that is for us, that we're going to be protected and we're going to get served and whatnot. So as per usual, protect and serve is the say, system produces is the question. And in this case, what we have here is it more urgent to deal with property rights, or is it more important to deal with public trust?
I mean, you getting served, all right. You definitely getting served. When I look at this situation, there's plenty of faults to go around. My main fault is actually it is with the police, but it's also with the mother. That's my main thing. I have seen women try to pick up their child and use their child as a shield. And to me, that's probably the most despicable thing you could ever do as a mother or as a parent altogether. Because as a parent, your job is to protect your child, not use your child as a shield for your own well-being. Because I guarantee you, no man is gonna pick a child up and try to do the little symbol thing, like I'm trying to hold my kid over my head and be like, this is a kid. No, You want to cover your child, or put your child in a position where your child is not going to be touched. You don't use your child as a warning signal, or as a meat shield for whatever situation that you're going through. You cover your child. You don't use your child as a meat shield.
But
what do you think, Austin?
But I mean, can we really give those parents that much grace? I mean, why the hell would you be stealing with your child in the car in the first place?
I think they figured out that she wasn't stealing. I think if I remember, when I looked into it, they said they didn't find anything on her. So basically, she got claimed for the claim was stealing, but they never found any product.
Oh yeah, I could explain some of that. So the claim is that the friend who was driving the car was the one that was stealing, and the mother was not charged with anything. She wasn't charged with stealing or anything like that. Another thing that the mother claims is that they have like cameras and stuff over there at the checkout and whatnot. So like from her vantage point, she was like, nobody stole anything. But the official claim, like from the officials, is that it's the friend, and that's where we are in this investigation now. I guess it's like the Mississippi Bureau of Investigation that's looking into the shooting and all of that.
Oh, and that's good luck with that.
Oh my gosh, you're like, oh no, it's not going to be great.
Yeah, Mississippi.
Yeah, Mississippi.
Wow.
Like about 40 miles from Memphis, like to the south of Memphis.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust anything
from Mississippi.
Yeah, any Mississippi investigation.
I think it's like all of our families escaped Mississippi, didn't we? Like all of us, like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, let's run to Florida, to Louisiana. Let's go run to Texas. Let's go run to Georgia. Just anywhere. Get the hell out of Mississippi.
I've never personally. I've driven through Mississippi once.
Inspired truth. I just think that they should not be coming with any kind of weapons for petty crime like that. They know that there's supposed to be some rules that you don't come out and be shooting at anybody, robbing. That's not where you bring guns out.
And that's the point, right?
To be, yeah.
That's
how the child got killed.
You kind of cutting in and out.
If they're going to hunt them down.
You cutting in and out, man.
Okay, maybe. Go ahead, because I might have a bad connection.
No, you're good now.
Yeah, I mean, that's the point, though, right? I mean, if they were just doing petty theft, allegedly, stealing something, then that doesn't give them a right to start just busting at somebody because they stole something. Unless if you stealing like a person, you can't use deadly force. I mean, if somebody steal your laptop or your car, you can't shoot at the car while they're driving off in your car. I'm going to connect that back to Anthony Karmelo. There's levels of force in response to certain things, but let's continue. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah. So like the thing with this is like, it seems like the response was like immediate, because when I have an issue, like it generally takes me a while to get a cop over there. Like, how do you have, you had cops like immediately on scene right there, immediately as soon as it's happening. And this actually relates to some other cases that are kind of that I know about, where you had in Louisiana where there was something with a white dad and his kid, and so basically they ended up like firing into the car, and then at least 2 of the cops got arrested in that case. And then there was another case where somebody jumped in front of the car and then they started shooting, because you're not supposed to jump in front of the car and put yourself into a threat and then start shooting. Like, so there's all these different levels of things that look like they went wrong here. But I guess next up is Trump's America.
Well, I'm going to say this. When it comes to the prompt and police, we know that, according to the FBI, you have hate groups that now join the police force, right? So that's why you have that explosion of unprofessionalism. And then on top of that, you have on top of that, you have the incentive of getting people arrested so that you can make money, right? $11 billion in human capital services every year go through the prison system, right? So really, really in America, what you're trying to do is pay for your freedom, right? Pay for your freedom or beg for your life, because the system is designed to either incarcerate you so you can contribute to the $11 billion, or to kill you because it follows suit with my ideology of white supremacy.
Ooh, that one's heavy there. Pay for your freedom or pay with your life. Yikes.
That's the prison industrial complex right there. He's on point. That's the prison industrial complex he's talking about. I remember. So, I mean, hell, the word police, when you think about it. And what he's also mentioning was the 06 memorandum that the FBI put out.
My point is that there's not much incentives for police to treat you like a human being, and there's not a lot of incentive for the police to allow you your freedom. For example, let's take something as simple as a parking ticket, right? When do parking tickets increase? When do traffic tickets increase? Holidays, Christmas, Thanksgiving, things like that. Why? Because police get a bonus, right? When they give out enough parking tickets, when they get out enough speeding tickets, right? That is revenue. That is revenue for the city, right? And if they hit their quota or meet or go above their quota, then they can get bonuses, right? The system pays the enforcer to pay the enforcer to make sure that you break the law.
And they said, I think they even set that situation up where it's like, what is it? You go downtown,
right? So something as simple as that, right? Right. So you can look it up, right? Christmas, Thanksgiving, all the spring break holidays, whatever, tickets, speeding tickets, traffic violation, parking violations explode, right? A city like LA does $100 million, $300 million in revenue on what is it called? Parking violations alone. Parking violations including speeding tickets, right?
That's a lot of money. That actually kind of talks about something that I missed while I was. I said it earlier, but I didn't bring it back up, and that's the incentive structure. That we don't often look at the incentive structure when we look at these stories. Like we look at what happened, why it happened, the end, but never go into like the system and then say, what does the system incentivize to have this repeat over and over again?
There's nothing that incentivizes a police officer to have your best interests at heart, right? It's just not in the bylaws. It's not in the SOP of being a police officer. And then because we have so many supremacist groups in law enforcement, even their ideology is against just protect and serve. There's nothing that incentivizes protect and serves the people. Nothing.
I could agree. Yes. There's no, there's no incentive. They don't get a benefit out of, but what you're kind of saying is they don't get a benefit out of doing their job. Their job is to protect the people.
No, the job says protect and serve. It don't say people. Even if you look at it, I think you can say it in the bylaws and stuff like that.
Protect property.
It says property.
I'm jumping a little bit.
The other name,
protect and serve. Who are they protecting and serving?
The public is what they're saying, but however, they're also called, the other term we use for police is law enforcement, which means their job is supposed to be enforce of the law.
Yeah, my brother.
Yeah, you mentioned that. and
Yeah,
that had to be
he shot
enforced.
somebody in
And
the
to
face, and the police
Mhm.
came and arrested him. That's protecting and serving.
I mean, yeah, that's
Yeah.
not like an open shut case, but at the same time, I'm just willing to admit like this. How I look at the law is set up to protect certain
Yeah, I
individuals. Like
think finally,
it's not everybody. It's
really,
like
their
it's set
job
up
is
to
to
certain.
protect the rich and the famous and the powerful,
Yeah, the rich and the famous and the
and to
powerful. That's how I
keep
look at the law.
uh,
It's set up to
To
protect them
sum
when
it up,
everybody else
the
is.
yeah, hold on a second, just a moment. Zulu, to sum what you're saying, Eddie Griffin said best when he said, it's called police. They mess with the poor and they're leased by the rich.
Ah,
Thank
you
you, Eddie
know,
Griffin.
you
They F
actually,
with the poor and are leased by the rich.
that there was actually a time when police were actually like privatized, like a privatized force, and
Yeah,
there's
Mhm.
this history that we kind of often forget about.
Slave catchers,
Hiring mercenaries,
that's where the origins of them is. That's the origins, isn't it?
Well,
No, no,
and then you
I
have
was
the
gonna go another
Pinkertons
way,
and
right?
everything
I was
else.
gonna go another way with it
All right.
because no matter in what civilization you go into, right, anybody who has an excess of money will always find or hire people to quote unquote do their bidding for them. You can find that in Kenya where you have the police. What a police person may be, I don't know, living in a shanty house or whatever, right? But then he'll get paid to go beat up random people that's protesting better situation for the people of that country, right? Or I've seen plenty of cases where they'll send politicians may send what is it, groups of people to go beat up people at the polls for whatever reason it may be, right? So hiring somebody to do your work, your dirty work, aka mercenaries, it's been done throughout human history. But now we just give them, badges and a gun, and we say, oh, he's here to serve everybody. When actually the person is here to serve a certain person who's paying his check. Because once that check start coming, I guarantee he's not serving nobody.
All right, looks like we got somebody else wanting to come up. Terrence, let me make sure. Like, is Terrence somebody that you know, Austin, or is he cool to
I
bring up?
know. I know plenty of terraces. I mean, I don't. It depends. I mean,
I just try to make sure we don't have any trolling issues and stuff like that.
I
Mess
don't
up the
know him,
stream.
so
Terrence, can you like show stuff on the camera real quick? Not on the stream, but like just for us in the background, so we know you ain't like gonna flash us nothing. All right, cool. Bet. I think I might have seen him before. All right, let me bring him up.
What's going on? Good. What's up, good brothers?
Oh shoot, let me because I didn't know if you wanted to keep your camera on or not.
And what's going on?
All right, that's good.
Hey, yeah, the police started out as slave catchers, and police means to lynch the poor. Can you hear me?
Yep, I hear you loud and clear.
Yes, sir. And in the book Message to the Black Man by Elijah Muhammad, J.B. Stoner sent Elijah Muhammad a letter and told him, I'm going to have my members join the police forces around the United States. And you're having an excellent discussion about law. When it relates to blacks, the best thing about law to remember is if you go to look up the Dred Scott Act, and that's where the Supreme Court of the United States said blacks are still slaves. And there's also a law called the casual kill law that says a white person can kill. What is somebody working out or something? I hear some breath.
Oh, I don't
sorry,
know.
that's my window. Go. I want to respond to you whenever you get done. Go ahead.
Okay. And there's a casual kill law on the books that says it is okay for a white person to delete a black person anytime they feel like it for any reason.
I find that very hard to believe.
If you find it hard to believe, there's something called Google that will tell you if I'm lying in 5 to 10 seconds.
So you, I don't. Maybe you're referring to something that came out of the Jim Crow era.
It doesn't matter when it came out. It's on the books, and it's
but I mean, at one point, the law said that black people weren't citizens. Does that exist?
We're still, yes, it hadn't been rescinded. A law has to be rescinded. There's two types of law. I practice law. I practice copyright, patent, and trademark law, but nonetheless, I practice law. And there's two types of law: de facto and de jure. And de facto means reality. De jure means on the books. And so they can tinker with and tamper with these laws. And that's what you're seeing in the case of shootings and this baby situation. They can play with the law. And just like y'all said, they say protect and serve, but what's implied and insinuated is protect and serve white people, not black.
Let me ask you a question. You said that the police started off as slave catchers in America.
Yes, sir.
In totality of all of America, the police were slave catchers.
Yes, sir. Because when I say slave catchers, I mean runaway slaves from the plantation.
I know what you mean.
No, just to clear that up for the listening audience.
Okay, so yes, slave catchers. So let me ask you. So you're. Let me clarify this again. The primary role of American police officers at one point was to capture slaves.
To this very day, I have.
What about New York? The state of New York.
Yes.
So why would they have slave catchers in New York as the primary?
I think I can intercede and kind of answer this because I don't want
South,
to.
The slave catcher police came from the South,
right? And you're exactly right. There's a guy named Malcolm X that said, "Yeah, the South means everything south of Canada."
Or whatever.
Ain't no whatever. There's a guy named Malcolm X. You might want to learn about.
Hey, calm yourself, bro.
But there is.
Tell him to calm himself.
No, hold on, bro. Calm yourself.
No, it's all good. It's all good. It's all good. Actually,
tell him to calm himself.
No.
It's all good. It's all good.
I'm not a whatever.
You are a guest.
Zulu, fall back.
I think he's misintentioned. Like, I wasn't calling you a whatever. I'm saying whatever to the information that you're saying. I think you're intentionally misunderstanding what I just said. My point is, police have existed in every single society. To say that the primary role of a police officer in New York City before the liberation of slaves was a slave catcher, there wasn't enough runaway slaves running throughout New York City for them to have an entire police force. By that logic, you saying white people didn't break the law. They didn't need their own police. They didn't rape their own wives.
I think actually I'll step in and I'll clarify something real quick.
I never said that.
Like, I'll clarify something for both of y'all. The origin of policing in America is scattered. So this is why we'll have like some law enforcement officers. I'm sure that some of you are familiar with some of the people that are in our space that are black law enforcement. They'll perhaps come out like maybe like Philadelphia or Pittsburgh or something like that. And they'll say that no, it was actually based off of this. And then we'll have somebody else that's a historian. They'll say no, it's actually based off of slave catchers. The origin of policing in America is scattered because it's not one uniform group. Like, you had a group pop up over here, a group pop up over there. So you have different origin stories for different policing. But that being the case, you still have this thing called like a culture. And so you have a culture in policing that is antagonistic to Black Americans, whether you're in the South or whether you're in Chicago or whether you're in or whether you're in New York.
I can agree.
That's what you're dealing with.
Exactly.
Well, the number one law in America is to delete a black man.
So let me correct that too. I mean,
it doesn't need correct.
You may have to drop him, bro.
Do you think that is like unique to America though?
Do I think that?
Do you think that's unique to America?
Yes, sir. Of course.
So you think police? let me ask you another question. Do you think that chattel slavery is unique to America?
Yes.
Of course.
Wow. Okay, so
Yeah,
so
that
Well,
actually is.
this form of slavery is unique
May I
to
interject
America.
real quick? May I
what,
interject?
no,
really
what is
quick?
the form of slavery? What is the form of slavery that we had that didn't exist anywhere else?
Starting out in 1555 on a slave ship called Jesus, captained by Sir John Hawkins, going to the west coast or Gold Coast of Africa, which we know as Ghana, in the Ghana area, and picking up slaves to pardon me, to take a continent called America that was bare land, and getting a mass number of ships and a mass number of slaves, bringing them over here, working them for 310 years without pay, and making that raw piece of land the -- gross national product producing country all the way up until 2005, thereabout. That's very unique. That's a unique fingerprint on the history of the world.
But that's not different. So basically what you just said was
that is different. No other country did that.
Brazil had 5 million slaves.
I can interject.
Right, but Brazil wasn't catapulted. Brazil was not catapulted. Brazil was not catapulted to the #1 economy in the world like America is.
Okay, but that doesn't mean just because it didn't become #1 doesn't mean like, oh, somehow Brazil's slavery wasn't as bad.
Wait, let me get.
Yes, it does.
Wait, y'all. Let me get Trump's America in there real quick, like just for a little bit.
Thank you. So first of all, when we talk about chattel slavery is novel to the Americas. So the Caribbean, Brazil, and America. Right. There was more slaves in Brazil than in America. America, the 50 continents, only represents 5% of the actual slave trade. But the transatlantic slave trade that would happen to African people is novel because that has never happened in the history of the world, because that's why it's called chattel slavery as opposed to slavery. Slavery meaning servitude, chattel slavery meaning to treat them as animals, cattle.
Exactly. Like cattle.
Chattel slavery. So hold on, let me let my plane. So it's not unique to America, the 50 states, but it is unique to the Americas, Brazil, the Caribbean, and America.
Yeah, right. I mean, so the definition of chattel slavery that I knew was
the entire Western Hemisphere, basically.
The entire Western Hemisphere, yeah, which is why I asked if that's what he thought, because Haiti had chattel slavery. My understanding of chattel slavery is you are someone else's property, and any kids that you have will also be property, and there's no chance of getting free.
Right.
That's chattel slavery.
Right.
And it varied.
Okay.
Yeah, and it varied. Just a moment.
So
go ahead.
And that is the difference, because when you look at other people who were servitude, my mother could be a slave and my father could be a slave, but I don't have to be a slave, right? But in chattel slavery, your whole lineage is born into slavery. That has never happened before.
Right.
So was the Arab slave trade chattel slavery too? Let me ask you that.
So with the
I would have to answer that.
No.
Well, with
given the fact.
Oh yeah, I guess Nemo would be the expert. Like, so we gotta defer to the expert.
Well, actually, this is what I did my economic thesis on when to graduate. But okay.
Oh, but go ahead. No, sorry, you go ahead. Go ahead.
So the difference between that, so in the Arab slave trade, right? Which the Arab slave trade, which spawned the transatlantic slave trade, they only took women, right? They castrate the men and they only took the women. So you didn't have a second lineage, right? Unless it was a half-breed from whoever she worked for that actually slept with her. But men were castrated for the most part, and only women were taken into servitude into the Middle East.
I don't know about that.
No, not exactly. Not completely like that. Because no, hold up. The men were taken as slaves, but oftentimes they were, yes, some of them were castrated, but the rate of survival to castration was like 1 in 10. Secondly, the roles that they had for the men and women were completely different. Most men who were sent as slaves usually were taken in occupational jobs where they were seen as bodyguards or to do hard labor, or they would do certain work that was considered beneath them. The women were mostly used as domestics, and of course, people forget that the majority of slaves that were taken from East Africa, from Central and East Africa, were mostly women, and they were used for sexual purposes as well as servitude. But when Islam came, the Muslims had a decree that if a slave woman was to bear a child from her slave master, she and the child would be emancipated and be directly as that child should be acknowledged as that slave master's legitimate heir. Prime example I can give of that was the Emir of Kuwait. Kuwait had a leader, had a king, had a monarch for a short while, who was the child of an Ethiopian slave and the previous monarch. Now his reign was short-lived because he was incapacitated and he was forced to abdicate due to he was undergoing he had stage 3 or stage 4 form of colorectal cancer. But no one denies his lineage. Yes, he was black in appearance, but he was still a Kuwaiti and a legitimate heir of the monarch, of the previous monarch.
Yeah, this is why I like David. David is an encyclopedia, man. Like you might be
I appreciate that.
You might be a little bit long-winded, but you have a whole lot of knowledge.
Let me tell you something. Where I come from, because I'm from that eastern part of Africa. Now, I may be shocked to find out, but when it came to, especially with the rise of when Islam came about, and the thing about enslavement was many groups would either convert, resist, or do both. If you were a group that was being targeted for slavery, but other groups were involved in the slave trade because many of them would bring the slaves from within the central parts of the inlands of Africa and bringing them to the coastline to be shipped off. Somalia, Djibouti, Kenya, Tanzania, especially Zanzibar. They were the main ports involved in the slave trade to the Arab world, from as far as north as the Caucasus to as far east as the Malay archipelago. And this stuff, yeah. Well, go ahead.
No, I mean, I think we agree on that. I think we were just talking about like people always make it seem like America was the only place that had chattel slavery, and I said that the whole America and the Arabs had chattel slavery. I've even heard Black Americans say that America invented chattel slavery, which is the stupidest shit you could probably say.
No, they did. They did, bro.
Well, hold on.
He did just explain that there was a difference between the Arab slavery.
Wait, didn't they inherit that? Didn't they inherit the practice from the British?
The Arabs, no. America did not invent chattel slavery. The first slaves to be brought to the America was by Portugal.
Right, the Portuguese. So here's the situation, right? So first of all, in the Arab slave trade, it was more of a sex trafficking trade than the men. 67% of the women were 67% of the slavery was women, and most of them they shipped to India, China, and Japan from Zanzibar and from Djibouti, and then also from Lamu in Kenya. Right? These were the
Don't forget Mogadishu.
These were the three distinct biggest slave ports. Had others, right? Now,
correct.
When the Arabs were shipping them off to China, India, like that's where you have the Sidi people, right? If you go look at the Sidi people in India, you do a blood DNA testing, they come back as Kenyans, Bantu tribe, right?
Yeah.
So
Tanzanian.
And Tanzanians, right? But I mean, Tanzanians kids are kind of the same people, but I don't want to go there. But then what happened was that the Arabs taught the Portuguese about the slave trade, and then the Portuguese began to do it, and then they went to get funding from from England to expand it. But it was actually the Arabs that showed the way on how to do the transatlantic slave trade.
And the blessing from the Pope. Let's not forget that. The
Right,
Portuguese and the Spanish were Christian by the Pope.
There's a couple books that I use for reference, right? The Islamic
Mhm.
black slave trade, the other black diaspora, and then the
Mhm.
economics of the Indian Ocean slave trade in the 19th century. This is the book that
Mhm.
I used when I was doing my senior thesis, right? So I was talking about the economic impact. So the economics of the Indian Ocean slave trade, and it talks about
Mhm.
where they some of the places they went, like China, Japan, and also India, and then how that helped boost their economies, right? But
Yeah.
the Atlantic slave trade was different. So, and then on top of that, right, the people that they actually took from the Atlantic slave trade side was actually blacks from Portugal and Spain. So when Portugal and Spain converted to Christianity, right, they pushed the Africans from out of Portugal and out of Spain into Angola, and Angola was a penal colony at that time. And so they pushed them out of there, and that's why you have the slave coast, right? And that's why when they talk about
Wait.
Africans, it was actually Africans that were coming from Spain and Portugal at that
What
time.
time period are you referring to? Are you talking about the Reconquista?
I'm talking 1300s.
There was they were.
This
the
is long
Portu-
before the Reconquista. Reconquista
the
in
Portuguese.
the second half of the 15th century.
The
Go ahead.
Portuguese did not have a penal colony in Angola in the 1300s.
No, Spain and Portugal created a penal colony. Like, matter of fact, when you go to the African American History Museum
That
in
doesn't make
Washington,
sense.
D.C.,
That doesn't make sense, bro.
yeah,
Mhm.
it's there. It's there. You can look at it. Go to the African American History Museum, and it'll talk about how they went from Portugal and Spain into Angola as a penal colony in the 1300s. Research it.
Now, a good
Mhm.
visual for American slavery that you can look up online is put in without sanctuary, without sanctuary, without sanctuary, and it'll give you a pictorial walkthrough without
Let me see.
sanctuary.
Was
Now, while y'all are doing that, I don't want to get too off into. We did go way off. We get animated when it comes to slavery. That is our pet
That's a
peeve
bread and
here.
butter.
It really is. But I would go ahead and swing back into our topic that we were discussing. Getting back to Baby Kohen, the alleged shoplifting, that was urgent, that was immediate. The baby dies. The video, the public gets involved, they get coordinated, they ask and demand for evidence, and here we are weeks and no video release. So that the system is showing you what it prioritizes when it shows you what's urgent and what is not urgent. And so then that kind of like brings us to what's being protected, what's really being protected. Is it the public that's being protected? Is it a brand that's being protected? Is it a corporation and corporate profit margins that's being protected? Or is it like institutions that's being protected?
Institution. White terrorism has always got to be protected. That people say white supremacy, but they have to quit saying that because whites aren't supreme in anything. So it's really white terrorism that's being protected at all times.
I don't.
Sorry.
I mean,
I wanna
supremacy.
say-
If they weren't supreme, then we wouldn't be getting harsher sentences.
So I want to say this. Sorry, it's 1482, right?
Yes,
Portugal
no,
was a
that's
colony.
why I was saying there was no way, and there was
Yeah,
no
yeah,
way they
1482.
sent them back. That
Yeah,
Angola was the kingdom of the Congo back then. They didn't send them back there. They sent them back down across from Gibraltar. You're
Yeah,
talking
so
about what they refer to as the Moors. That was the Reconquista. That's why I said that.
Yeah, so 1482, Angola was the Portuguese penal colony.
No, it
Well,
wasn't.
yes, it was. In 14, absolutely.
No, it wasn't.
I'm looking at it right now.
But that's
Maybe I
not
could be wrong.
That's not supreme. That's control.
And the first Portuguese exploration. Okay. So you're saying it was a penal colony?
Yes, so people were exiled from Portugal and shipped. Well, the Moors were exiled out of Portugal and pushed into uh Angola and the Congo.
So I'm seeing here that they did not make it a colony until 1575. The first Portuguese exploration was in 1492. There's no way in hell that was a colony for Portugal. There's no way. Like I don't know any colonization that happened like that from the Portuguese where they landed somewhere. Because remember, at first they were just exploring. They weren't even trying to colonize. They were just trying to find a way to India.
They're trying to find a trade route. That's what they're trying to find.
Yeah. The Moors were not expelled to Angola. I've never heard that in my life.
Oh, if you go to the African American Museum in Washington D.C., it has it. They talk about it. It's a whole exhibit on it.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're like just quibbling over dates, really, aren't we?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know the exact date, but the point is,
I'm looking at it. Yeah, Morocco, Algeria, and Tunisia. That sounds about right because that was where the Moors. That's where they launched from there into the Iberian Peninsula. So they got pushed back down south. Why would they go out of their way to put them on a ship and take them all the way to Angola when that doesn't make sense?
Mm-hmm.
The Moors already had an empire in Morocco and in North Africa.
Unless you're talking about Gibraltar or something like that. I mean,
I'm not talking about Gibraltar.
No, you know what that's like? That's like saying, you know what? We had a bunch of Mexicans that took Texas back, and the Americans fought back, and instead of them pushing them south back into Mexico, they pushed them into the southern tip of Chile. Like that wouldn't make sense at all.
I'm pulling. Anyway, we can move forward. I'll put it in the back chat once I find it.
Yeah, that would be.
Also, got to mention something. If you all can hear me.
Yes, we can. Hear you.
Can you all hear me? Okay.
Yes,
I forgot to mention something that's really important, and this is something that the Portuguese left out when they were learning about the Arab slave trade. Is the Arabs were not just enslaving black people; they were enslaving white people as well. The Barbary pirates, anybody? Because remember, because we forget that, like certain concepts that we find in the Americas, there was some parallel to that in the Arab world. Like this whole thing about skin complexion and being closer to whiteness. That's why they liked it. That's why for centuries people have wondered, why does these Middle Easterners have this weird fixation on Europeans and fair-skinned individuals? And if you look into the Arab populations all across North Africa and even into the Levant, you're going to find people who naturally have light-colored eyes and light-colored hair. Why? Because somewhere in their ancestry is a European. This is a European ancestor, usually a woman, who was, trafficked and sent as to become part of a harem of a high-ranking official. Having a slave was a status symbol, and only certain people could own slaves in the Arab world. The vast majority could not. And to have a white slave was really a big status symbol, because if you had a white female slave, you could sire children from her, and they usually come out lighter skin, having light colored eyes and light colored hair. That's why they had this fixation with blonde hair, redheads, green eyes, blue eyes, gray eyes. And men were always castrated and usually used in clerk jobs or for mercantilism.
Austin?
Yes.
Whites are in control. They're not supreme. Supreme, don't confuse the two. When you say white supremacy, when people say white supremacy, that's worshiping white people, and we have to get away from that.
I mean, I guess we could say that, but I mean, if we want to go by the definition of supremacy, if we want to look up the definition, it says the state of having the highest authority, power, or status over all others. That's what it is. I'm not saying that
supreme actually means better. And if whites were supreme, the NBA and NFL would be 90% white and not 90% black.
Not 90% of the NBA teams are owned by white folks, though. That's supposed
not owned. No, I'm talking about playing ownership.
Yeah, no. If we want to talk about genetics,
ownership.
genetics.
They only have ownership because America is a plantation corporation. But everywhere you've been to Africa and you see blacks in local control, but they're controlled by other countries. Those blacks in control are controlled by their imperial masters in Europe and other countries.
Yeah, in our case, we're a minority, a population minority.
Not if you mix in the brown people. They lie on the statistics.
Yeah. For the record, I posted the book authors in the back chat, a private chat that talked about how Angola was a penal colony. So you can check out the book, you can check out the author, and all of that at your leisure. For anybody.
Okay, thank you. Good. That's useful. All right, so just kind of reviewing to where we've gotten thus far. We've gotten like maybe halfway through or a little bit less than that. Equal justice under the law. That's what the system says. What we actually end up getting is longer sentences and wrongful convictions, disparities. Protect and serve. Yeah, that's what the slogan is. What we actually end up getting ends up being property concerns prioritized over public transparency. And then next up is representation. So let's deal with that. So we have a system, our system, and we're actually going to, next week is going to be like our independence, where we're celebrating like a quarter millennia as a country that prizes the fight against taxation without representation. That's what we fought the Revolutionary War over. So let's see, and let's kind of critique what this system actually produces. Like, do we actually end up having that? Like, and we're going to have a whole lot of prideful stuff going on the 4th. I'm sure we're going to enjoy some fireworks and all that good stuff. But let's pull this up right now.
Y'all not boycotting the 4th?
Yeah, I don't celebrate the 4th. Honestly, yeah, I don't. Yeah.
I'm going to be celebrating, but it's not going to be about celebrating the 4th. It's going to be more about going to Essence Fest. So I'll go and I'll show you all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
have fun at the Essence Fest, my brother. Have good fun there. You're going to find a lot of nice people there.
Yeah, I don't celebrate any holidays actually. So, yeah.
Oh, you're a witness? Okay, fair enough.
No, I'm not a witness, but I don't celebrate any of these holidays.
Right, smart man.
So there we go. Taxation without representation. So I don't think I need to really do too much citing the source on that one. You know where that comes from. You can go to the National Archives. It's over there in the Declaration of Independence. That's what we were priding ourselves on, that we don't do taxation without representation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what do we actually end up with, though? I mean, do we really actually believe in that for real?
We have taxation. Delete the N. Oh, and then you got it. Then you got it right.
Delete
So we saw fairly recently, this went up into the Supreme Court, where they were saying that we should not have that second primarily black district in Louisiana. Even with that was kind of a problematic thing. It was basically the Republicans deciding on that. The idea was that in like 2020, as a result of the 2020 census, they were stuck and presented with the fact that Louisiana is 33% black, but you only have one primarily black district. So you only have like essentially like one sixth of the representation when you're 1/3 of the population, which meant you had half of the political power that you otherwise would have had. And they ended up when they did end up kind of structuring that second district, they ended up taking something that was going to go from Baton Rouge all the way up to like Shreveport. But then the whole idea was to black pack it if they were going to absolutely have to do it. But then they ended up having other interested parties that said, oh, you don't even have to do that. And then so that went all the way to the Supreme Court. So now they're back to like, oh, yeah, let's scrap it and let's go back to one again. So now you're stuck with this situation where you have your taxation without representation.
Yeah, that's what you're beginning. Just delete the NNO. You got it.
What word do you get?
No, he said because it says no taxation without representation. So if you delete the letter and they delete the letter, you got what we really have.
Right. Yeah. What is it? The Dred Scott decision of the Supreme Court. Blacks are not citizens. Article 1, Section 2, Paragraph 3 of the Constitution of the United States. Blacks are 3/5 of a human being. A dog is 4/5 of a human being. How many black hospitals are in America? One. How many dog hospitals are in America? 35.
How many vet offices you mean?
35,000. So which one is more important? Black man or a dog?
Gesundheit.
Thank you. No. When it comes to America, dogs are more important than
Thank you.
For sure. Man's best friend, for sure. The pet economy, come on. The pet economy, man.
Thank you.
35. There is more money and research that goes into animal healthcare than black disease research.
Can I ask a question? The guy that just brought up that dogs are 4/5 of a human being.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying that, so you're saying that dogs have more freedom or more rights than humans, right?
The brother just said it. The brother that just spoke said it. Yes, they do.
So if I feel like selling you to somebody, can I do it?
Yes.
No, I can't.
Okay, let me answer. Let me answer.
Sell a dog. You can't sell a person.
Let me answer. There's something called the NFL and NBA, and they trade players all the time.
That's optional.
No, it happens. There's a something called the NFL draft where they buy human beings. It's a slave market.
No, Austin. Let me level set a little bit because I'm with him, man. But I don't want to come off as a zealot. So what I'm saying is this. What I'm saying is that when it comes down to like protections and rights and care and just general well-being, dogs are going to have, especially when it comes to black men, dogs are going to generally have more public concern than a black man. Dogs are going to get invested more in when it comes to wellness, well-being, all those things, right?
You said more public concern?
Yeah, way more, yes.
So when was the last George Floyd style protest behind a dog?
So Michael Vick and Michael Vick situation, right? That's one. Also, if you
people tearing up streets and burning down buildings behind Michael Vick fighting dogs.
If you kill a dog versus you kill another black man, you're going to get more time killing a dog than killing that black man. Promise you that. You're going to get more time killing a dog than killing that black man.
I want to say this. I was trying to say something to this, right?
Let me land. So what I'm telling you this is that it's not a straight apples to apples comparison, but when we see how there are dogs right now living better than everybody on this panel.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
There are cats living better than everybody. Thank you. Right,
and there are some dogs locked up in the back that ain't got no water. That's subjective to who the owner is.
But we're talking about the general public opinion and care.
Public opinion.
Like for example, I could go down the street and ask people to sign a petition for more public funding for pets, and everybody will sign it, no question asked.
Thank you.
I cannot turn around and say we need more public funding and care for homeless black men. Nobody's gonna sign that shit.
Yeah.
But Trump can spend trillions of dollars deleting people in that war. One bomb deleted 175 little girls in a school. One bomb. And that's perfectly okay. But when it comes to doing something for the homeless, oh, we ain't got no money.
Right.
We ain't got no money for that. America ain't got no money.
No.
We got, like the rapper said it best, we got money for wars but can't feed the poor. We got money for wars but can't feed the poor.
The countries like Iran that we're bombing don't have food stamps. We do.
That's a separate issue.
No, you just said that we have money for wars, but we can't feed the poor. To be poor in America, you have food stamps. If you don't have no money here in Kenya, you're not eating. What are you talking about?
But again, that's why I make a distinction of men, and particularly black men, because you as women and children can absolutely live off the state. You're absolutely right. That's why
Austin, you're right. They got food stamps because why? Willie Lynch said treat the female good, and the females that signed on to leave the black home in the Moynihan report and break up the black family, one of their rewards is food stamps. So yes, you're absolutely right. They got food stamps, Section 8, public housing, good jobs, college scholarships. Yes, those females who said they would leave their man and break up the black home, break up the black community. Yes, you're absolutely right. That fits into the political agenda of white terrorism against the black man. So yes, you're right.
I would go back to this as well because I didn't get a chance to respond fully to the NFL thing. We can't compare dogs and NFL because I don't know. Have you been to the NFL? I haven't. Going to the NFL.
Yes, I'm an ex-NFL player.
Okay, well, you went. I did it.
Yes.
Most black men did not go to the NFL. So if you decide to go to, you volunteered to be selected for a team. That is not compared. Like, that's not buying and selling of human goods. This is, I own this team. It's like, it's a job. Do we want you on our team? It's not like you getting bought into slavery or something. And
but
on top of that,
but they have something.
A dog doesn't have a choice. If I have a pet dog and I say I'm tired of this dog, let me just sell it. The dog can't say no. That's not against my rights. You can't compare those.
Voluntary and involuntary is a separate issue. The fact is that trades still remain. Giannis Antetokounmpo just got sold and traded from the Milwaukee plantation to the Miami Heat plantation. Sold, traded. Because they are.
How?
They are plantations. Okay, let me prove it. What deletes NFL players? The thing that deletes every NFL player besides kickers is something called football. Football cuts 17 years off of NFL players' life. That's why you had the movie Concussion. 17 years are taken. The average man lives to be 69. The average football player lives to be 52. Football deletes all of its players.
You know what it is?
Yes, because of the trauma on the body. Playing foot, each hit takes a week to 2 months off of that man's life.
So this is the thing. I was actually talking about this earlier. The dumbest athletes are the ones that get hit in the head. Boxers and football players. Have you ever noticed how majority of cases where we see athletes that get rich and they blow all their money, they're not usually going to be in the NBA or the NBL. They're usually in the contact sport where they're getting hit in the head until they are idiots, basically.
Right. But
that has nothing to do with like a slavery type of thing.
It is slavery. It's modern slavery. It's a cumulative effect. NFL players, all of them do not get hit in the head. It's your body the abuse that your body takes is equal to being in 4 car wrecks a day. The science is out there and they're hiding it. And it was a black African scientist that brought it out, and that's what
his name was Dr. Bennett Omalu,
yes,
Nigerian American.
Right.
And I know what you're talking about. And it's called CTE, otherwise known as chronic traumatic encephalopathy.
Yes.
It's not just you find this not just in American football. You also see this in rugby. You see this in combat sports like Muay Thai, kickboxing, boxing. Now they're starting to discuss this in MMA. Where'd Austin go?
Oh, I'm right here. No, I'm just saying. Anytime you get hit in the head repeatedly, it makes sense. I mean,
accumulative. Same thing in soccer with when they're trying to hit the ball too many times. Yeah, you can get concussed. I've seen players who've had survived skull fractures, and they were able to return, but they had to wear protective headgear afterwards. Rugby players after getting concussions, they've had to wear something called a scrum cap.
Right, but it's not brother Austin. It's not just your head. Look up the ex-Oakland Raider named Jim Otto, Otto. He had after football, he had 71 surgeries and had to get his leg amputated. It's not just the head, brother.
All right, so I don't want to go too much into the side.
Yeah, we're going too far.
We gotta get back into the topic. All right, so
it's still slavery and injustice. It's on the topic.
Yeah, we can talk about this offline afterwards. We can continue this later afterwards. We just got to move forward.
Yes,
Sorry about, excuse me, Inspired Truth.
So I guess we could just call it indentured servitude. Let's go with that. Okay, let's continue.
All right.
Yeah.
So you have the say versus system. Every vote matters. That's what we say. We say that, hey, we don't do taxation without representation. But then when we actually get into the nitty gritty and how the actual system ends up working it out, we don't actually see that happening. We see a disparity between what populations are and what political power they have. We see that we actually end up getting told, okay, it doesn't really matter that you end up not having this representation because at least you're able to vote. So you end up with this. What does the representation actually mean? Does it mean population? Does it mean seats in Congress? Does it mean voting power? Does it mean political outcomes? We do have a big discrepancy between what is popular amongst the populace and what actually ends up being approved by Congress. That's kind of one of the reasons why Congress is so reviled. Like their approval rating is super low, but then people will say that they're okay with their individual congressmen. But then when you zoom out past that individual and you look at the system, people aren't happy with the system. That's because like you keep getting told this idea that, well, you get the right to vote, you got to vote, you have to vote. And then you're voting, but you're not necessarily voting with the power that you should have.
Well, your vote doesn't even count. America's being the people are being tricked. Your vote doesn't even count. When you vote, case in point and proof being, you vote for the president. People think they're voting for the president, and the vote doesn't pick the president. The electoral college picks the president, and it has absolutely nothing to do with vote. The word vote comes from the Latin word votus, meaning wish. So all you're doing is wishing and hoping and dreaming, and it has nothing to do with a political reality whatsoever.
All right, let me get James in there. He's been sitting there for a while. I think he's gotten a word in yet.
Well, I don't like whenever I come in on a live, I don't like to just chime right in unless it's raise. Raise, I come right in and just start, it asks for it. But I did want to talk about what you guys were discussing before, and I'm not going to get right into it, but I think you guys are missing each other. I think Austin was talking about when it comes to a dog, like laws on the books, rights on the books. And when it comes to slave, the actual description of a slave, which means you work to the dog, work till your muscles fall off, literally, and they can beat you, do whatever they want, and you don't get paid for anything. When you look at it like that, you know, things change a little bit. And but I think from the NFL guys, and I know you guys talk about this a lot amongst each other, even on the lives that you guys do, but I don't think you get as deep enough into it. And it is like when you say it's like slavery, you should open it up a little bit more and say, we believe it's like slavery because how they see us, how they treat us. However, they can only go so far as what we get paid, how good we look on the you know, when you score and win a touchdown and win a Super Bowl and you take your helmet off, you could just retire right there and become famous. I mean, you know how that goes. But when people see that, you say, how can someone who has those kind of options be seen as a slave? But you guys will say, well, wait a minute. We're talking about how we're treated and how they see us. And I wouldn't knock you if you say, if you take one of those slave masters and ask them what do they think of their slaves, and you ask one of these NFL players in private among their own buddies like Donald Trump or whatever, and you say, what do they think of the slaves? It's probably going to be a little similar. You know, right. It might be. Right. And I think you guys are missing each other. And I think that's what happens when a lot of times when we get together is we have to step back and just say what we're talking about before we get into it. We need to identify a few words. You know what I'm saying? Because if you don't identify the words that you know you're going to be using when you go into a debate, a lot of times it could be anywhere between one word to 20, depending on the caliber of the people debating. Like if you talking to somebody like Cornel West about slavery and racism, you're probably going to ask him to identify at least 15 to 20, maybe 30 different words. Not that you won't understand or define the words, but how he's using them. Because Cornel West uses words, you know, very uniquely. And people talk about that, and he'll explain himself if you ask him to. But and even like a debate on this level, we do have to identify things and make sure we understand how you explain them. You say, okay, that's how you seeing it. So let's have a conversation about the way you see it. And he say, okay, now we're good. Right. You know, we miss each other on that. And so many times, like the N-word, you know, and they'll go like, well, so Whoopi Goldberg said it's a word of endearment. Not really, you know, and that's a whole nother live right there. But the way you're using it and how you see it and how you define it is very, very important. That in order for us to be able to have a constructive conversation about what we're talking about, we should try to do that.
You're saying the context.
Yes, the definition,
yes.
like
Sir.
A word. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's get Bronk in here.
What up, Inspire? What up, panel?
Hey, what's good?
What up?
Hey.
What up?
I do.
Hope everybody having a good weekend so far. What does representation actually mean? I say this all the time, man. I say that there is no representation for black men in American politics.
Great point.
There never has been from the inception of this country, and there still isn't today. What we have is a plantation state, all right? And the plantation state has evolved to usher in industrialism. We even think about the Civil War. That wasn't fought for black people, for the freeing of black slaves.
No, sir.
It was fought. Well, Abraham Lincoln is on the record quoting that he would keep, if he could find a way to keep the slaves in slavery and save the Union, he would do it.
Right.
That's a quote from Abraham Lincoln. All right.
Right.
The Civil War was fought over the expansion of slavery into the West, not slavery itself. The North wanted to expand industrialism into the West. The South wanted to expand slavery into the West. And that's what the fight was about. The North was okay with the slaves with the South keeping their slaves in the South. But after they got after Napoleon had to sell the Louisiana territory, essentially to fund the Napoleonic Wars, then that's what the fight became about. They tried to compromise. They tried to make some attempts to compromise. That's why we got the Missouri Compromise came out of that as well, right? But there was no way that it wasn't going to lead to bloodshed. Okay. Now, I believe that the North was essentially telling the South, like, this is the new way. We can introduce slavery into the industrialist, into industrial expansion,
States. Yes.
and they could be our workers, and we can pay them slave wages to run our factories, and we're still going to come out on top. But the
Right.
South didn't see the vision
Right.
because cotton had dominated the textile industry for so long, and they were
Right.
still reaping in pretty good profits from that. So they didn't want to give that up, right? But again, it wasn't fought for us. So the Republicans, the black Republicans that became the first black politicians, right? Those were just house niggas. Okay, let's be
Right.
real.
Right.
Wow.
Niggas never really never really represented black America. They represented massa, and so the house niggas accepted classism.
It's
Okay,
not.
the house niggas accepted classism. They thought they were better than other black people because they had access to master's homes, and it's still those same black people today. Malcolm X called it out. Manning Johnson called it out, and they called these people the black bourgeoisie. I forget who actually Malcolm X took that term from, because he wasn't the originator of that term. There was someone that he studied very closely that used that term to describe the black house niggas, the black bourgeoisie.
Yeah.
You still see them today.
Yeah.
Frederick. I think it was Frederick Douglass.
No, it wasn't Frederick Douglass.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
Just hold on a second. Just a second. Austin, if you could please mute up. Is he muted up? Okay.
Yeah,
Go ahead. Continue.
But yeah, I forget who it was. It wasn't Frederick Douglass though, but he termed the coin the black bourgeoisie to describe those black house niggas.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and so if we do see black,
Was it Booker T. Washington?
Today, say that again.
What is it? Could have been Booker T. Washington?
No, it wasn't.
Because remember.
No, because
Okay. I stand corrected.
Booker T. Washington actually, he actually believed in black men and women becoming industrial. He actually pushed forward the Industrial Revolution. He wanted black people working those industrial jobs, and actually Andrew Carnegie funded the Tuskegee Institute, of course, because he owned U.S. Steel, and he would love to have all those black workers.
Yeah, brother, I appreciate that. I appreciate you clarifying for that, because the more, I learn something new every day. And to your point, let's not forget also to your point about expansion of slavery, because remember, the United States expanded through the Mexican-American War, the 1850s.
Yeah.
And acquired, all those states in the Southwest and everything. So
but
there was that argument.
The point I'm making with that is the point I'm trying to make with that is the fact that we don't have representation in the way that they try to tell us that we do. Just because we have a couple of people in the House of Representatives or in the Senate that have black faces, that's not representation.
That's called tokenism.
So exactly. So
tokenism.
This is how you'll see that you don't have representation.
Right.
You get the wrong woman pregnant out here, and you find yourself in the family courts. Look at the color of your family court judge.
Yep.
You're up Ish Creek without a paddle, brother.
Look at the color of the attorney.
Yep.
Or the options of the family court attorneys that you have.
Yep.
Right?
Oh yeah, family court attorneys, yeah.
When you go to jail, look at the color of the warden at the jail.
Yep. And NFL and NBA athletes.
Yeah, look at the owners.
They're still slaves. They're slaves.
And for a time, Major League Baseball.
America is a plantation state that has evolved and become more complex. It's not just outright racist anymore, because here's the thing. They've introduced classism, and they'll be classist against anyone, regardless of race. But because they'll do that, people think that racism doesn't exist anymore. No. It just it exists alongside classism.
Well, yeah. So here's the thing about that. Like, so a lot of times we'll still look at things like still on like a little bit of the superficial level and not really get the fact that this stuff is still with us, because the thing that we have is like legitimacy of the system. So when you're too overt about it, when you're too obvious about it, that degrades the legitimacy of the system, because everybody can see it and everybody can see, oh yeah, that's not really fair. Oh yeah, you're not really powerful. Oh yeah, you're not really this, or you're not really that. And so the thing is that it just kind of becomes one of those things where you have all of that culture still with you, operating in the background, so that you can't really see it.
Subconsciously, subductively, and subliminally.
Yeah. So let me go ahead and get back to some more of this that I'm covering. Let's go to this one.
Before you continue, would it be possible if I could be short to mid-winded here for a moment?
Oh,
regarding representation?
Yeah.
I'll try to keep it short to mid-winded. First and foremost, gentlemen, given this to the nature of the beast that is American politics, we're forgetting there's certain thing called lobbying. And we forget that oftentimes a lot of these politicians and your so-called representatives are beholden to who? Not necessarily the constituencies,
the corporation,
but their campaign contributors, their campaign financiers.
Right.
They hold the purse strings to them. And you know about 90 and like some 70 to 80% of every politician's job is he's got to work the phones to acquire campaign contributions and get donors. So there's such a thing as a donor class, folks, something to keep in mind. So I would also argue there's also something called special interest groups. So Black men, time to organize and and create your own special interest groups. Local, county, and state level before federal.
What you're saying is all the politicians are bought and sold.
Yes.
Pretty much.
Yep.
So we got to fight within the system. Thank you for that opportunity, Inspired Truth. Thank you.
All right. So let me
that's
go.
how they introduce the classism alongside the racism. Because the classism exists, they try to say that the racism doesn't exist. And they try to say it's equal. No. Black people have one more barrier to overcome. We are both suffering through classism and racism. The white man is just suffering through classism.
Well, there's levels to racism. I mean, there's levels to it. I mean, there's those who really believe that the black comes off. And there's people who are making money off the fact that you're stupid enough to believe that the black comes off. You know, and there's other people who are just taking an opportunity instead of making money off the fact that you're stupid enough to think the black comes off. And I'll tell you who they are. You know, you got like, me and Austin were talking earlier about, his video that he did about, the prison. And you got it like the prison itself, the prison owner. Okay. They get to privatize it. Okay. You need a racist cop. You need a racist police chief. You need a stupid mayor or a racist mayor. And you need people who are powerless in order for all to come together.
District attorney and judge. Yep.
If at the root of it, you need racism in order to have a jail system like that.
Yep.
You can't do it without racism because you need all those levels. Okay.
Layers.
You need them. You need all the layers because, all right, let's take away a layer. Take away, take away people that are stupid. You're not stupid enough to believe the black comes off. But your mother told you that black people are to be mistreated because they're black. Read Neely Fuller Jr.'s book. If they're black, you mistreat them. Okay, but you're not stupid, right? So you're going to learn, you're going to get educated, you're going to get familiar with the world around you, and you're going to realize that just because you're black, that doesn't mean it gets treated. Because growing up, the person who did me the worst harm, white. And I just got fired because I didn't do it for something I didn't do. And the supervisor and the manager, they were white. And the person who tried to help me was black. So wait a minute, but if you're stupid, you're not even going to take that into consideration. But if you take that away, right, they're going to look at the prison system as you're abusing a power that we don't want in the wrong hands. So even though I still slightly am like, black people, just stay over there. I don't hate you. I don't want to hurt you, but I don't want you living in my area or taking my job. But I won't
segregate you.
Right. I'm just going to segregate you, but I'm still going to call you racist, but I'm not going to wild out on you. If I become a cop, I'm still going to be a good cop. But if it becomes you and a white guy, then you know what I'm talking about. So if you take away the stupidity, the prison system is going to have to fall because you're going to be like, that's too much power for you to have, because if you can do it to that black guy, you can do it to me. Okay. And in order for me to be able to kind of keep things the way I like it, I need a legal system in place that's running a little fair. Okay, because if it's unfair, then you can actually do what I'm doing to that black guy to segregate him to me too. So the prison system is too much. I need some of y'all in check. I need you to have a little bit of leeway so I can just a little nudge on the shoulder, just give a little bit to the white guy. Just a little bit. Right now, we have all the layers in full form. And that's how you got Donald Trump. That's why you get Donald Trump be able to do whatever he wants. That's why you got Daniel Penny. Austin probably mad now. So you got Daniel Penny that can choke a guy on the train and walk away. And the stupid people, that's why you got stupid people posting memes of Austin Metcalf being dead. But at the same time, I said, I want you to treat us fair in the court system. But I'm going to make a meme of Austin Metcalf being dead. I know I'm jumping off topic a little bit, but I'm still kind of talking about the same thing. You need all these layers to be in place. Yeah. And everything that we could talk about, everything you can bring up when we're talking about this subject, it does root down to racism. Now, some people say, well, it's actually about this, the money, the financial. These guys are on the take. But I say, yeah, they are on the take. But why are they able to be on the take? Right to the root of the problem.
And they were able to set up an illegal court for that brother that defended himself.
Yeah, but we're not going to get too much back into that. We covered that earlier.
My bad. I did that.
No, it's all good. You got good.
Yeah.
All right, so back to our say versus system that we've been looking at here. The pattern is real. You'll have a system that says equal protection under the law. Again, you'll end up with more longer sentences for us and more wrongful convictions. You end up with protect and serve being the motto, and then they'll protect the property first and then worry about public transparency later. You have representation. We believe in we don't believe in taxation without representation. Meanwhile, we'll go ahead and say, okay, you'll get about half of the political power that you should have based on your population when you're black. So all of these things, you can just apply them down the line to each system that you have, whether it's justice system, whether it's the law enforcement system, or whether it's representation. And now on to this other topic called unity. So the system says unity. We should go for that. But what actually happens in our system? Do we actually end up getting something that looks a lot like unity, or do we end up getting something that looks a little bit like something else? So it's funny that I kind of brought that up now, isn't it? All right. So let's take a look at this. I mean, some of y'all probably seen like that whole idea of the different sectors in the black community, right? So you have like your Pan-Africanists, and then they might be at odds with ADOS, and then ADOS, and then FBA might be at odds with ADOS and saying, oh, they're this, that, and us. So then you have the Democrats and the vote blue no matter who folks, and then you have another group that's more aligned with something else. You'll have your conservatives. You're going to have the black manosphere, and then you're going to have pro-blacks that despise the black manosphere, and then you're going to have the divestors in there. We have all of these different groups that are kind of like segments of the population, but at the same time, we'll say that we need to have and operate with unity. And are we actually moving together, or are we competing against each other?
Yeah, it's 100 different groups against each other.
Let me go to you, Bronk, and then we'll go back up to Austin after you talk.
That's a very frustrating thing, in my opinion, and of course we all come up against it. You're absolutely right. It's just so many subcategories, and it seems like they're all trying to do a lot of different things, right? Even with the ADOS, FBA, you have the subsets like the Hebrew Israelites that are trying to do something, right? And even within the black manosphere, you have, gentlemen trying to do different things. All right, so it's like there's no collective agreement about what our issue is. Even you have the, black man in the political space where we're not represented whatsoever, right? Who still believe that that's the way that we get things done for us. Yeah, there's just no agreement whatsoever. What we can all agree on, though, that is some real issues that are going on in the black community. But then you even have a group of men that blame ourselves for the issues.
Yeah, we had a whole alpha your way out of it group. Oh wait,
Yeah.
looks like Trump's America just came back up. Let me did you land already, Bronx?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Okay, well let me see what he says about it.
Hey, I just tuned back in. Can you update me?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we just got to the divisions within the community. So we went through the other different systems and how they have say versus system. And then I talked about like how they'll say that we want unity in the black community, but then we have all of this disunity going on, and we have all these different sectors and segments. Pan-Africanists might not get along with ADOS. FBA doesn't get along with ADOS, and vice versa. And then we'll have Democrats, and then we'll have conservatives, and then we'll have Black Manosphere, and then we'll have people that are against Black Manosphere, and then we'll have the divestors. And we just kind of have all of this segmentation and fragmentation, while at the same time claiming that we want unity.
Well, I mean, I think this is what I say. I think when it comes to organization and leadership, Black people have a long way to go. Because we look at leadership and unity as high school activities. For example, no one in Europe will say, oh, all white people are the same. The Italians and Irish are different. In Asia, Chinese and Japanese will never say they're the same people, despite they look alike. But for some reason, when it comes to Black people, because we look alike, we have to disregard language, culture, customs, eating habits, religion. We have to disregard all that just because we look the same. That's like elementary shit, right? Fit the piece or match the pieces. Unity doesn't work that way. What you need is alliances. Yes, ADOS, you do your thing. Pan-Africans, you do your thing. Democrats, you do your thing. But we have alliances, right? That's why you have things like Sinopac, right? In Asia. When things pop off in Asia, they have Sinopac where they'll work together to solve that specific issue. I do not need to conform to your culture, whatever. We just agree to work together on specific issues. And so what they need is an Afropac where you have alliances. One community, you can't have that. Different languages, different culture. You can't have that. It's about alliances and working together. That's it. You'll never have unity how we want unity. That's just not reality.
All right. What do you think, Austin?
I think we might need to let one more person go. I had my response based off of what he was just saying. But I think that we're doing more so competing with each other rather than working together, as you already can see. I mean, I know a lot of this stuff is on the internet with the whole FBA and all that other kind of stuff. But again, is there a white version of FBA? Like, do you hear like white Americans going around claiming that they're the foundational white Americans and they're different than the Italians? They probably know that. They probably know that, but they're not doing that. They're not sitting around and making these stupid ass podcasts all day.
No, they do it behind closed doors.
Huh?
I said they do that mostly behind closed doors, not out in public.
Neo-Nazis. Those are neo-Nazis that you're describing. They here.
Or neo-Nazis, Neo-Nazis, they're the ones that do that.
But that's not accepted. That's not accepted.
It's not accepted
at this point. You got to be more covert with it.
I just think the divide and conquer thing is just still very alive. The legacy of it is still very alive with us.
100%.
You can't. But the thing, I have to push back. You can't. It doesn't work that way. Chinese and Japanese people have a long, tumultuous history with one another. Nanjing massacres, opium, like a litany of stuff. But they come together in a pack as alliances, right? You can enjoy who you are, and we don't have to be the same, right? We don't have to be the same for me to work with you. We just need to have the same interests. Right? Why do I need you to require to look like me, eat like me, date like me, all that stuff? We that's not necessary. And this is the biggest gap for Africans, whether Africans on the continent or black people in America, right? We acquire assimilation in order to get our teamwork, where other people don't work that way, right? We just need to have similar interests for
So
us
do
to
you
work.
think? How do you feel about black businesses that put on the front door black-owned business? I remember there was a discussion about that a while back.
Yeah, I think that's a mistake, right? I think you should
so
learn.
too.
I think you should learn from what the Koreans do, right? When Koreans come to China, right? Secretaries, entry-level workers, Chinese, middle and upper management, Korean, white people. You can work here, you can work there, but at the end of the day, succession, upper management, and majority of middle management are going to be white. We don't need to, I mean, but we take everybody's money, right? And so I think when you say black-owned business, you alienate your customer base.
Correct. I believe that solely. And I don't know why they even do that, because black-owned businesses has been around forever. I mean, when we had segregation, we had our own businesses. We had to.
Well, there was a time and place for being black-owned, right? Like, for example, if a riot's going on, then that's the time you put, this is a black-owned business. Go fuck up the others, not mine. That's the time and place. But when that's not happening, then no, I mean, you eliminate your customer base because it's an unwritten rule, right? It's an unwritten rule. When women in business get together in tech, they don't say female-owned tech business. It's an unwritten rule. All upper management are going to be white females. And they don't even need to say it. You just know how it is. They don't even need to say it. And that's the program we need to be on. I think black people think that we're too high and mighty that we can't learn from others. And we got to start learning because the world has passed us by, and we have to learn.
You mean mid-management would be female?
Mid-management?
Upper management is probably going to be male. Especially in federal government.
When you see like women in tech businesses and these women symposiums, they never say, okay, we have female-owned businesses, right? They'll have female-only conferences, right? And we can do that, right? They'll have female-only seminars and female in tech, whatever. But if the CEO is a female,
female focused,
her whole management crew is going to be female.
Well, female focused.
Whatever, but they don't put it on their thing. This is a female focus. They don't put anything.
Yes, they do. You can do that, and you can. You can because it's not a violation. The wording and how you.
You're missing my point. I'm not saying it's a violation. What I'm saying is they don't put female focus because they don't want to alienate their customer base. But it's the unwritten rule that over here. When it comes to hiring people and stuff like that, we will be female focused. We're just not publicly announcing it.
Well, it depends on what you're hiring for and what the assignment is, what job, what kind of, it depends on, what the overall, vision is for whatever it is that you're trying to make money off of. A focus can be anything you want. In business, they always have a focus. You first need a focus before you can have vision, or vice versa.
I'm not saying you don't. You're missing my point, brother. The point is that, the point is this, right? Why do black people have to say that the business is black owned, right? Why do we need to say that? That is the question.
If you say, I can answer.
So, no, that's not the question I'm asking you. That was the question that was asked to me. And then I told him, I don't think you need to do that because you're going to alienate your customer base. Being truly black owned means that you're run and operated by black people. That to me means black owned, not just having a sign here. Black owned means run, operated, and you hire your own people, but you serve whoever. That's what to me what black owned is about.
I understand what you're saying right there, but I'm gonna let you in on a little something, and it comes in the business world. Do you know that some of the most successful African stores in the United States, their biggest clientele are white people?
That's what I'm saying to you.
Right. So if you can focus, if you make a business, the focus is black people. that gives them an idea of not only what you're selling, but how you're presenting what you're selling. And how,
you're not hearing me.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I guess I'm not getting you.
Okay, what I'm saying to you is this: get money from everyone. Do not alienate your customer base. That's what I'm saying to you. When you're saying,
okay, I see what you're saying. You're talking about the customer base. However, the thing about it is, you not only need to understand your customer base, but you need to understand your potential customer base as well. And if you have a product, you need to focus on the presentation of your product based primarily on the expected customer base.
I agree.
Okay. And if that customer base, you know who's going to be interested in buying your product, you need to make sure you do that perfectly, because the competition is absolutely going to do that. They're going to focus. I know they're going to focus primarily on who's going to buy what you want. Take the NFL, for example. A lot of the advertisement, believe it or not, is actually focused on women, because they're the ones that have to get hardest. Us men, we're going to watch them go. A lot of times we don't even like the commercials. They're boring, and they're making fun of us. A lot of NFL commercials. Their focus is actually female because they're a harder base to sell to. Okay, a lot of the advertisement in the NFL is focused on getting women to be interested in NFL. So your focus needs to be on who you're actually trying to sell to. And if you focus, like Black people are going to be the one that's going to be more interested in your product, you focus on them. That doesn't mean you're going to alienate people who aren't Black. That's never really been the case.
If you put Black-owned business, you're going to alienate white consumers.
You could, but if you know, that's true. You could. I know you could.
You do.
I know, but you could. But if your product is definitely not going to be bought by white people because they're just not interested in that product, you're not going to waste your time trying to get them. You're going to focus on you literally start a business because you focus on you start a business because you know exactly who you're going to sell to before you even create the product, because you have customers in mind. If you sit down and think of a business to start, who are you thinking about? You're thinking about the customer. What do people want? How am I going to sell it to them? How am I going to present it to them? How am I going to display the product?
Why would you? Okay, but I mean, we're going off on a tangent because that's not.
I know we are. I don't want to. Yeah, I hate doing that on lives, but it gets like.
Is what we're saying is that when I'm saying Black owned, is better to represent Black owned by hiring Black management, hiring your own people. Yeah. My customers are white, Asian, and Latino, right? That's totally fine. But
I'll give you this. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Hire Black-owned management.
Right. Yeah. I'll give you this. If they renamed BET, it might have opened to more clientele because of the product that was there. You know? And there's a lot of times that Black businesses have stepped away from using stuff like that because they believe that they would alienate customers. But it really is depend on, the business that you're in. It really does. In some cases, the business that you're in is probably a good idea to say it's Black owned, because white people, in other words, a hair product, like the hair salons, right? A lot of the stuff, I mean, not in hair salons, but the hair product stores and stuff like that, the whole boycott thing right there.
Well, right now,
right. But no, I'm just saying, ain't no white women going in those businesses to buy nothing. However, there may be a few products here and there that they may be interested in. And those products are well known for being in a Black-owned store. But some white women say, you know what, I like this, I like that, and I like that. Where would I buy it? I'm going to go to a Black store because I know they're going to have it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think I'll go with saying that there's some nuance involved in this. So I'll get to the next part of this. Like, so y'all might remember like last year how heavy they're
Inspired. Before we move on to the next part, I'm going to say I like what Hot Sauce did introduce. It's almost like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but he's saying, why don't we normalize our own business structures? Why don't we normalize black management? Why don't we normalize black owned? And why do we have to go out of our way to advertise it? Right. Like let's just normalize it and then utilize it when it's necessary. Like let's say again, Riot Start, like the example you used. Then we want everybody to know we're a black owned business. Don't tear our stuff down. But as long as we're not in that type of environment, let's just normalize it. And let's just be black owned in the background so that we can tap into a larger market share.
There's a ton of Jewish law firms. Everybody in that piece is Jewish. They do not have a sign in front of their law firm saying Jewish owned law firm.
Right? Yes, they do. They do have that. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, they got that. They absolutely have. Yeah, they definitely do.
Okay.
They do. They even have the flag outside the front of the law firms.
No problem.
Yeah.
Let's move on. No problem.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, we are the only ones that do that. I mean, we are the only ones. I mean, race is everything to us.
It is.
Well, guess what I'm not going to do? If I see, because I don't like Jews, right? I'm sorry to say that live, but I'm using an example. If I'm someone who does not like Jews, I'm not going to go to that law firm.
That's a good way.
I don't blame you. I absolutely don't blame you, and that proves the point he was making. Absolutely, the alienation. I wouldn't either.
Yeah,
I would. No way would I get that law firm, and I know that they're there because I in my back of my head, I remember seeing something like that, and I know they have Asian ones too. They have them. They're out there, and they believe that they do that because they want these potential customers to know that we understand you. Okay? We're in the business of helping people like you. So come to us. Let's get all those, because if we just say it's a law firm, they're going to be like everybody else's law firm. Now we want these guys. Let's fish these guys out.
I'm gonna push back on that a little bit. I'm push back on that a little bit, and I'm gonna push back because of this. Some people put black-owned business on their stuff as a sense of entitlement, even.
Yes.
Oh, we're black-owned. You should choose us first.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Let me. Just because you put black-owned on your, restaurant, that's not going to motivate me to eat there. I've had some of the worst service at black-owned restaurants.
Bro, and you said,
but because you slap black-owned on it, it's almost like you're trying to guilt trip me into choosing you.
Yeah, it's guilt tripping. Yes.
Yeah, that's it. That's the word.
They do that. They say, why don't you support a black man? Well, I want to support a qualified man first. Let's start there.
Give me a good product and a good service, and then let me find out that it's black owned and be happy that there's a black owned business.
Now I gotta get off that train. I do believe in black economics, because that's how you end racism. That's how you get power. I do believe buying our own, circulate in our own. I 100% believe in that.
No, I believe that too. But I don't believe that you just do that just because they're black. I think you still should be pushing out a quality product and service.
Let me put it to you this way, right? If your product is crap, right, absolutely crap and hurtful, okay, yeah. But if your product is adequate, and you're hiring black people, and you're donating back into schools for the youth, I am 1,000% going to continue to purchase them.
Yeah, I'm going to do that before I do it for another company that's of equal quality and value.
No, even if there's quality B that is adequate for black people, adequate, not great, but adequate, that doesn't harm me, but gets the job halfway done. And then there's product A from big business, right? But B hires black people. B gives money to the local sports teams and donates books and stuff to the black kids in school and stuff like that. I'm doing B, bro. And
well, let me see. So here's my thing, right? And James, you know, Troy and I got into it about this before.
Yeah.
Jasmine Crockett is a Texas or was a Texas politician who doesn't know what a fucking deadly weapon is. Now, am I gonna support her just because she's black? No, I want to. I don't give a damn about you being black. I want a politician, white, green, yellow, whatever it is, that at least has enough common sense to know that a knife is a deadly weapon. But since she's black, we should just support her anyway.
I think we're missing the plot a little bit, because I gave caveats. I gave specific caveats what I would do when supporting a black person. I said, for example, if it's harmful, then no, right? So in this case, it would be harmful. Second point is this: how are they supporting the community, right? Because the community needs I will put before my own needs, right? There's nobody's bigger than the system. And in order for us to gain power, we as a collective have to have systems and powers, institutions, right? So if they're supporting and establishing black systems, black institutions with a mediocre product, then I have to take the sacrifice for the next group generation.
Yep. That brings me over to this next topic over here, which is Essence Fest. I know y'all probably remember from last time around, this time last year, where everybody was like putting out their content about like how it was like an African takeover and everything was so bad and all of that. Yeah. Let me go ahead and play this clip real quick. Flooded with claims that Essence Fest was experiencing an African takeover. Let me pause that and rewind that, because there we go. Last year, social media was flooded with claims that Essence Fest was experiencing an African takeover. Videos went viral, comment sections exploded. People argued about culture, ownership, identity, and whether Essence was still an event for Black Americans. The interesting thing is, I was actually there.
Essence Fest is whack and washed now because it's run by a bunch of Africans. There is no Black American culture that is reflected in Essence Fest anymore.
So I ended up like seeing all of these different, and I think last year I went a little bit more hard body because I was like, I streamed for hours, like actually like 24 hours. Like I did like about a good day, and I was there every day at the convention center, and I did probably like 10 hours of streaming there, and then I did another like 15 hours of streaming the concerts. Like you had one little David O over there at the concert, and then you had like one vendor selling food at the convention center, and they turned that into African takeover. I'm like, no,
that's one too many.
One too many.
Yeah, that's one too many.
Bro, it was crazy. Now, I will say that there was like probably more like a feminist takeover. Like even this year, I'm looking at the ads, and it's talking about like sipping and sisterhood. And I'm like, okay, all right. I see where this is going. I see where this is headed. But I get that the whole point of like Essence in general is like going to be catered towards women. But a lot of the stuff that I was seeing was kind of going into like this dark space, like where it kind of ended up taking over my favorite part of it, which is the Global Black Economic Forum, like where we're supposed to be talking about like brands and entrepreneurship and all these different things that we could be doing in the community. And then that ends up becoming like some of the latest versions of niggas ain't shit, you know. But that part gets kind of put to the wayside. The popular narrative is African takeover, and that gets all the clicks and all the views, and everybody goes hard body in the paint with that. And then you see like thousands of like, or even hundreds of thousands of views based off of that thing. And it's like, nah, that was really overstated. And it just kind of like furthers this fractured divide that we have here instead of an actual unity. Like the Pan-Africanists here in New Orleans, they put on Juneteenth, like when we had our Juneteenth celebration.
Yeah, but Pan-Africans are still Black Americans.
Yeah.
Right?
For the most part.
Africans ain't Pan-African like that.
Wait a minute. I'm sorry. I don't like cutting in, but I just let me do this. I'm sorry. I apologize. But this is where we start That's what I was talking about before, defining. Now, when you say that, and you say they're Black Americans, that's when you start to trip up, because when we say Black American, that's cultural. When you say we're all Black Americans, you're talking about race. Am I right or wrong?
You're wrong.
Okay, now we can have a conversation.
So when we're talking about Pan-Africans, majority of Pan-Africans, let me put it this way. Majority of Pan-Africans are ADOS or FBAs, right? Overwhelming majority. And that's why when they do Juneteenth, nobody says anything. Because the people from the continent, they don't, there's no Pan-Africanism in them.
Well, wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
I guess I gotta let y'all two have that.
I can't, because I'll go on a tangent. I'm shutting up.
No, okay, let me ask you this then. Let me ask you this. From their side, what have they done from their side to support Pan-Africanism?
You just jumped to something completely different. Now you're talking about support and representation.
That's what Pan-African is, right? That's what it is.
Okay, fair enough. I'm going to ask you to do us all a favor and define a few things. What makes someone...
No, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I apologize, but I asked the question.
You asked. I just want to know if you could. But I can't. That's what I was talking about before. Before we go on that, I'd like to ask you to define a couple things so we can't. It's not a question. It's not a question. It's just so we can understand each other. What makes someone an African American or a Black American?
Well, that's why I use FBAs and ADOS, right?
I know, but we need to know for what, because we're the one we're talking to. That's what I was talking about before.
Well, FBAs and ADOS. Now, let's move to my question. From their side, what have they done?
I don't believe he answered the question, but I don't want to. I don't want to go into it.
FBAs and ADOS. I just answered it.
But what? Okay, then what makes someone an FBA?
Foundational. Okay, ADOS. American descendants of slavery, right? So if you were
bloodline all the way back to slavery, yes.
Yes, there you go. Okay, now let's move on.
But wait a minute. How are we the same? How are people who came from Africa the same as us? Because you said they're all the same.
I never said that. I said that the Pan-Africans, they did Juneteenth. I said they are all the same because they're all ADOS.
Well, I don't know for sure because, like, when I went and I looked at the vendors,
bro, come on.
When I looked at the vendors, we had like Black Hondurans there too. So I'm like,
Afro Hondurans, yeah, Afro Hondurans, Panamanians, Afro Latinos. Remember,
so my point.
Remember, because okay, go ahead.
My point is from their side. How have they supported us? We can move on.
I just want to clarify something because, like, the term African American, I remember in an interview, Malcolm X mentioned that all people of African descent in the Western Hemisphere could be considered African American in the context that the Western Hemisphere is called the Americas.
True.
South Americans, Central Americans, Caribbeans, North Americans. You guys are all basically Afro Americans, in a sense.
Yeah, the term that he was talking about.
Yes, he's specified. Yeah, the term, and he's being specific about it. He clarified about it. So, but since we're talking about,
I want to say
the African American. When you say African American, the South Africans who are white, they're also the same. It was kind of the same concept.
So
but this is a little bit different. But
I want to say this because there's three types. There's three types of African Americans by lineage, right? You have the African Americans that were here, right? Like before Christopher Columbus or before the French, the Portuguese came to the Americas, there were already black people here, right? The Olmecs.
The First Nations. Okay.
You talking about that?
Yeah. So there are also you have those group of black people, right? The ones that were already here, right? Then you have the ones that came over from the transatlantic slave trade, right? The ADOS.
You actually have the ones that preceded Mansa Musa.
But that's the third one I'm getting to. I said you had 3
Oh,
types.
okay, my bad.
And so
Go ahead.
the AD, you got the
That
ones
was before the transatlantic slave trade, though. That was actually
okay, my bad. So you got the Olmecs, then you got the ones from Mansa Musa, then you got the ones from slavery. We good, Mark?
Yeah, go ahead.
We good.
Okay, I wanted to get it right. Okay, so these are the 3 different groups.
Okay.
All right. So I guess
Fair.
all right, so I guess I'll get back to this then. So
Yeah, let's get back to this because I'm very interested. What was it? Because when we look at Essence, the magazine, has it changed its core demographic of viewership, of readership, as a magazine?
I'm
in the
talking
past
just
20 or so years.
I'm talking mainly on the actual festival rather than the magazine itself. So basically, what we ended up having last year, it's the same thing we have basically every year. So we have the convention center where they have all the free stuff. They have all these seminars. They have giveaways, the makeup stuff, the hair and beauty section. All of that's on one side, and then you have the different seminars for maybe cooking, some stuff on different business and brands and how to do branding and all these different financial things that'll be on one side of it. And so you have kind of like this idea, this concept of a party with a purpose. So the party side is supposed to be like over there with the over there at the Dome, like the Superdome. We'll have all these different concerts, right? Like so, like this year we have like Cardi B, we got Lotto, we got what's that chick? Kalani. All that's going to be on Friday. And then you end up with some more Saturday and some more Sunday. And then at the same time, not at the same time, but earlier in the day, you have all the convention center stuff, like I was saying before, that's actually free. So you have the stuff you have to pay for, you have the stuff that's free, and then you have hopefully this idea of people are learning stuff and gaining stuff. And if you're a streamer, they have a section for streamers to learn and whatnot and take their pictures at the different like streaming booth type things. Like it's all about like just kind of like trying to improve and also have a good time. But that whole idea of this being a massive African takeover, no, not so much. I mean, you might have had a presence, but a presence isn't the same thing as an actual takeover.
Yeah,
I had rice jollof for the first time last year, but like I actually liked
it. Yeah, jollof rice. You had the jollof rice.
I liked it actually.
Okay.
Can I ask you something? How fresh do they really be dry? I was told that people be coming out with like stuff that you got to get tailor made to look that good.
There is some of that, like so. It's a mixed bag. Like some folk are like really heavy into what they're looking like, and then other people are not so much. Some people will go over there just to like the free section over there in the convention center, just to kind of grab all the different bags of free stuff, like all the free beauty supplies and stuff.
See, but here's the thing, though, right? So listen, man. Essence is a ADOS festival, right? And I will agree. I wouldn't, if I'm running it, I would not let Africans sell their shit at my spot.
But it's owned by one though. I mean, like we didn't have a problem.
I know. And that's why we get the African pick. It's owned by.
You would cause a lot of problems, man.
It's having like jollof rice versus whatever. No, nigga, supposed to be grits versus whatever else. Cheese grits versus shrimp grits.
Actually, it should be since the host is from the Bayou state, it should be jollof rice versus jambalaya. To be accurate.
Look, y'all, I talked about that.
Jollof, nothing.
That whole jollof rice versus jambalaya thing, that was over there at the university. Like that wasn't even at the convention.
Oh, okay.
That wasn't even.
I stand corrected.
Yeah, well, I mean, it wasn't at the convention center.
But people keep saying it happened at Essence Fest, though. But yeah, I believe you. But yeah, that was on social media. A lot of people were saying like jollof versus jambalaya. But my point
they went crazy with that. Yeah.
My point is this, bro, is that this is our cultural thing, right? Because see, this is the thing, man, and I'm trying to drive it home. You're not going to have a Chinese festival in Japan. You're not going to have that. You're not going to have a Japanese holiday in China.
Hold up. There's something I know that I'm going to school you on. A lot of times when you see a lot of Asian festivals like that, if it's a Japanese or Chinese festival, Japanese restaurants, they work with each other. Japanese, Koreans, Chinese. You could have a Chinese restaurant and have Japanese employees, cooks, Korean cooks, etc. They do it all the time.
You're not in context. You're not in context, my brother. You're not in context. Because everybody on this panel, I just told we talked about unity. I talked about Sinopec. Did I not? I talked about how they form alliances, right? But you're not going to see. You're not going to see
ASEAN, for example.
You're not going to see in Nanjing. You're not going to see a Chinese festival in Nanjing and then Japanese people selling their culture to the people. You will never ever see that. Never ever 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 see that. Ever. But they still work together. They're still in Sinopec, right? Japan is on there, China's on there, South Korea's on there, but they're not going to do this stuff. And this is where we as Black people get it wrong, and this is how you get tribalism. This is how we create fights, because you have to say, look, I will work with you on shared things that we need to work together with. We will work with. But when it comes to culture and customs, you got to respect mine and I got to respect yours, and we embrace the diversity. We don't need to be the same to work together. We're alliances. We're not the same people. We speak different languages. We have different perspectives. We live on different parts of the planet. This is what causes the friction, because we're constantly asking people to assimilate. And this is where the friction is, as opposed to pulling resources together for shared problems that we can work together and be better at.
I think that's a big part of the premise of the Global Black Economic Forum. Like, if it's going to be a Global Black Economic Forum, it would make sense for us to have the globe involved in it.
No. We're Americans. We run all shit everywhere around the world. What are you talking about? Global means that we gonna dominate that. That's what it means. American.
Are you sure about that? Are you sure about that?
That's what that means. We're American, Jack. Come on. Shame on you.
I think we
Shame on me.
If you want to become a billionaire, you need global. It's all about global, man.
Alliances, and it makes sense for us to talk to people that are in different parts of the globe when we're talking about doing economics worldwide. It makes sense.
I mean, global to me is when we send African American companies and make them multinationals. That's what global. When I hear global, that's what I hear. African American multinational.
All right.
And there's nothing in return. And it's not vice versa. It's just one way.
Absolutely, we learn it from you.
Oh wow, wow. We're not.
Oh, sorry. So you try to say. So you try to say. We cannot have anything that is transactional. You know, we can't have anything transactional. Okay, I work with you here. If you need, hold on a minute. Just a moment. You had your say. Let me have my say.
Sure.
Why am I using this accent anyway? Basically, what you're saying is it should be. Yeah, I know, because y'all ancestry is from Western and Central Africa. You guys more the Atlantic coast side. So, but anyway, what you're trying to say is basically you guys just want to have it one way when we should be having mutual exchanges. Like, if they want to work over here, then it should be transactional, like it should be, because remember, we're in your home, we're on your turf, we're in your backyard, and when you come to our backyard, it's got to be mutual, because how you guys going to enforce what you want to do in our backyard unless you're being backed by Uncle Sam? And you think Uncle Sam's just going to necessarily support Black businesses like that? I don't think so.
Well,
think about that.
I have an answer for you. You ain't gonna like it, but I have an answer for you.
I don't have to like it. Please tell me the truth.
Hey, the truth was we learned from you. That's the truth.
Okay,
not you per se, but how we learned from how Africans operated when it came in.
I like this guy.
right? That's what I'm saying. We learned it from you, bro.
Well, you know what we have in common, what unifies us. What unifies us is the whole reason why we even have a competition to unify with them in the first place. And what is that?
What is that?
I don't. Yeah,
Our struggle is what I believe unifies us the most. No matter how we try to
Exactly.
separate ourselves within America,
It's
every Black
racism.
American has the same struggles
Yeah.
to overcome.
We're all treated in a certain way. However, it's a little more structured different in the United States. And the main reason why it's like that is because the system of the United States that's against us. I mean, it all is, but that system fears more than anything unity. They fear us Black people more than any other people in the world. But what they fear more than anything is unity. Any country that unifies with us is, could be problematic. Could you imagine if all of China just threw away their racism and they say, we 100% support Black people so much that all Black Americans have full visa fly. You can come to this country and move here and be part of China. We'll teach your kids Chinese. Imagine that.
They were when back in the civil rights era, China did support a lot of Black freedom fighters.
It was here. It was here, but it wasn't in China.
That was only strategic. That was only strategic. North Korea, China, and the Soviet Union.
A lot of freedom fighters. They invited a lot of freedom fighters over to Beijing, right? Over to Beijing. Over to
That's
Shanghai.
because they were the opposition, though. They didn't really give a fuck about them.
But see, this is where the mistake is at. This is where the mistake is at. If I have a pain point and you have a pain point, the intention is irrelevant. We have a mutual thing that we can join the alliance on. See again, right? Black people constantly think that unity has to be assimilation, love, and peace. No, man.
No, we don't. No one.
It should be integration. It should be integration to an extent, basically, what you're saying.
Whenever you keep saying the terms, we're all one people, we're all the same. That is what you're asking.
You know what? I just thought about something. You're actually jumping ahead of my one of my other slides. We're gonna actually get into some of that.
Go ahead, man. Jump on it.
I wait to the slide. My apologies.
All right. So I think that some of this fracturing that we have in our community ends up being a source of pain, not the only source of pain. We have our external factors, we have systems against us, we have all of these things that end up creating pain. But one of the ways that the main way that we end up coping and dealing with that pain is through comedy. And so we take that pain, turn it into comedy, and then from that comedy, it turns into viral content. And then that viral content entertains us. It keeps us kind of pliant, and it keeps us basically sedated, and then from there we end up with no progress. And this is what I call the concept of the cycle of Black clown culture. And the Black clown culture. Like we end up we end up actually trying to protect the idea of Black clown culture. We end up saying, okay, well, I'm going to rip on you. You're going to rip on me. And then everybody just kind of like disrespects each other. And then we pat ourselves on the back like, yay, look at how good we are at ripping on each other. This is such great comedy. And it was like,
the cultural roasting.
Yeah, the cultural roasting.
The cultural roasting and playing the dozens. And, and all you're doing is basically, you're satiating. What you're doing is basically satiating a emotional wound through humor, but you're just putting a Band-Aid over or something that requires something more extensive treatment for.
Yeah, it's barely even a Band-Aid over a bullet wound. It's more like a distraction from the pain. It's like, oh, go look over there. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's an entertaining television, but I'm still bleeding out. Like, I mean, I still have like this bullet wound over here, but I mean, I guess I could be distracted. Maybe I could get drunk or something, but it's still.
Or you could compare to this. I mean, like in the context of where I'm from, because like many parts of Africa, they use humor as well. there's a parallel to it. It's not identical to what you guys have, but there's a parallel. That's a term that like Mr. Trump here would probably appreciate. There's a parallel that we use humor as pain because we understand pain. Other thing that pain can cause is you become angry, and anger gives you motivation to do something concrete about the problems and address them like you need to. But unfortunately, people, when they see you get angry, become very fearful because they don't understand you're being constructive when they only see anger as something as destructive.
Well, yeah. So that's why this is where we get into like where Trump's America over there was explaining that incentive structure. Like you're incentivized to go into clown culture when you experience this pain from either the fracture or from the system or from all these other different things. Like you want to be funneled into that pain and you get celebrated in the community for it. You get celebrated in the dominant society for it. You get celebrated everybody for being a complete clown.
No, I wasn't going that route with that. I was going a totally different.
Oh, well, that's not this one. That's another one that's coming.
Oh, okay.
Well, you're not going to you're not going to have a problem with somebody's anger if they're fighting for you.
Yeah, if that anger is constructive and you know they incentivize you go into comedy, but disincentivize you to go into, but they try to disincentivize you to go into constructive, constructive anger, righteous constructive anger because.
They want to
control by all means, explain.
Anger. They want to control black anger because they understand that our anger towards them is coming from a righteous place. So it's righteous indignation. It's righteous indignation towards the injustices that we face as black people here in this nation. And they don't want the total fury of that against them. So they try to suppress it. They even try to suppress it in psychology, right? If you go to any therapist, they're going to talk you out of your own anger.
Ooh,
or they'll try to write you off, by diagnosing you with some kind of disorder as well.
And if you even look at it in the police state, right? Black male anger is seen as aggression and a threat. They will pull their guns and tasers out on you if you get too angry at them. All right. Well, they don't want to deal with that whatsoever, even though it's justified to have that level of anger towards them.
One quick
thing. And
to
your point, Bronk.
One quick thing, because I want to get Austin in on this one, because I know, so I know that maybe from time to time you might have spoke on like Speed doing some certain stuff, and I'm like, that initial comedy type stuff that he was doing kind of did get him into a space where he could talk into some larger things. So I mean, sometimes some of these comedians can have a positive effect, but I just think that it should be kind of like a tool rather than used as a overall solve all, like a silver, like a panacea for everything.
Yeah, I hear what
you're saying. So you believe there's a method to to his madness? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut in, but I was just saying.
I hear what you're saying to that regard.
Absolutely.
The opposite of that.
That's something.
The opposite effect of that is like the Kevin Harts of the world, right?
Oh yeah.
So here is a guy
who
kind of get
there you go,
get a lot of money for himself, and look at what he's doing. He's allowing these white folks to publicly clown him. You know what I'm saying?
And he's not going to stop.
Yeah, and
you remember? Yeah, I mean, prime example, Bronk. To your point, prime example. Who remembers the movie Get Hard with Will Ferrell? What was the poster of? The poster was Will Ferrell in a seated position, and he's like what, 6'5"? Oh, Gesundheit, or bless you, whoever sneezed.
Thank you.
Exactly 6'5". Yes, exactly.
Exactly, he's 6'5". 6'5", thank you. You have a 6'5" white dude who is mediocre and comical sit in a sitting position, and standing behind him, all 5'3" of him, Kevin Hart braiding his hair into cornrows. You see the humor in it, but but black folks understand the subliminal messages in there. And also to tie this to what we were talking about earlier about police officers viewing any anger by black men as aggression. I have to mention this because remember, white folks also like to co-opt certain terms like black fatigue. In this case, what you're talking about white officers being fearful of black men because they view them as aggression. Even if you were being compliant, they could just say any gesture or the tone or the terms you were using were low-key microaggression.
Philando Castile is the perfect example of that.
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
That man's
Thank
last
you.
words. That man's last words were literally, "I'm gonna have to pull it out," because he was in compliance. Hey, I have a
I
firearm
wouldn't have done it
right
though.
here. Yeah, I hear you though, but he was doing what he thought was full compliance, right? And he died because of it.
Yeah, you sure did. I mean, it kind of like
All right.
but getting on to like another thing, since you mentioned like the microaggressions thing, like we'll see kind of
Mm-hmm.
like microaggressions in like the whole colorism debate going on there. And not the one that you're thinking about, not the one where it's like, oh, dark-skinned women versus light-skinned women. Nah, the dark-skinned men and light-skinned men thing, they'll go on. So you'll have like these insults that'll transpire, and it'll be like, oh, you're acting like, oh, you're this or you're that. And then if you say, hey, I don't like you saying that, then it's like, oh, see, that proves it. And it's like, okay, so it's the same thing as when the dominant society folk will say a microaggression to a black man, and then he'll have a negative response to it, and then they'll say that you're playing the race card. Like these are all like
That's gaslighting.
Yeah, these are all like unnecessary like fractures that we have throughout the community that don't get us anywhere. And then they'll kind of make this whole thing like, well, it's just joke. You can't take a joke. Oh, you catch comedy. Like, no, you know what you're doing. What you were doing was trying to go and put somebody in their place socially. You were doing a social attack. And then you just kind of like putting that as if it's just comedy when it's not.
And to your point, Inspired Truth. Just a moment, James. And to your point, Inspired Truth. Oh yeah. And to your point, Inspired Truth. Let's not forget another term, because we're using these because we're talking about stuff like this: covert buzzwords and dog whistles. And sometimes even when you have to call people out, they will go passive aggressive, or they will be aggressively passive in certain cases. But you still have to stand on your square and say, hey, no, this is what you were doing, and you can debunk and prove them. And you say, and then they could just be dismissive of it. But at the end of the day, a white person is looking at you as you're beneath them. And they're going to say, and when you call them out, even when you call them out and say it's just this, that, and the third, this is them trying to use plausible deniability and deny your humanity in the process. And I've dealt with similar things like this in Europe, but it's a little more covert. It's a lot more covert with them. You have these blatant forms of it, but it's a little different compared to what you guys have in the US.
Oh yeah, I remember. I was surprised when I heard you explain to me how it works down over there, and that's another thing why it's good for us to like kind of come together from all parts of the diaspora and kind of share notes, because then we get a better understanding of the world and get to see things like they really are. Let me get James in real quick, and then I'll get into this new topic so that I can circle back to Trump's America, because this is what you wanted to talk about. You wanted to talk about coordination. Doesn't necessarily have to mean it. We have to agree on everything.
Well,
not you on that topic. You can talk about whatever you want, James.
Well, the only thing that I was saying is one of our biggest problems is that we don't really have one. And what we were talking about is not staying on code. But if we are going to get on code, what is it? I'd really like to know, because I've had a lot of conversations with some very wise black men, 60, 70 years old. And I talked to them, I was like, what would be code? What was code back in the 60s and 70s? You know they had a little something.
You know what code would be?
Accountability and honesty is the first thing.
Code would also involve if any one of our community is arrested in the attempt to try to bring forward progress for the black community, we have to stand in solidarity and literally protest outside of the jails for that person. Right? We have to unilaterally, or we have to get together collectively to decide that we're going to stand up against the system itself when it comes to our leaders. Right? And we saw that oftentimes in the civil rights era. Martin Luther King get arrested, he had a whole group of people behind him ready to go down to that jail and get him out. Right? But we don't really have anything like that today. It's kind of like all of us are independently dealing with the system, and we don't have any representation that we've.
They kind of had to stay. Well, you kind of had to stay on code in order to get all this. I mean, all these laws, all these civil rights, all of it was us. We're the ones who got all that.
Yeah.
We did it. Nobody else is pushing for these. We did this. This is us, black people. And we had to stay on code. And because you had people like you know, you had a lot of Uncle Ruckuses who talked bad about Martin Luther King. I mean, you had them all in the hood, right? Your next door. I mean, they was all over the place talking. Joe Madison talked about this. People up today acting like I'm marching with Martin Luther King. I was for him. I was like, he had a lot of people who should have been on his side, dogging him out on the radio, in the streets, on talk shows, news cameras getting in their face, and they say Martin is that they were going at him hard. You know how we had people going at Obama. Not trying to say we all should have been for Obama. You don't want to get into that. I'll go on a tangent. But if we're staying on code, we need to say what he's doing. Is it good for us? If he succeeds, is it good for us? Okay, well, let's keep our personal BS to ourselves. Make sure he succeeds, and then when we're done, then we could talk amongst each other in the barbershops about what you think about the way it's colored. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. We definitely allow.
This is where I need to cook for you guys. All right, so unity is not an agreement; it is a coordination. See, we already messing up. Unity is an agreement, and we shouldn't have the word unity. We should have the word alliance, because unity for Black people requires assimilation. And we're too different. We have too many diverse experiences. We have too many languages and tribal aspects for African people from all around the world and African diaspora to unify in that way. It's impossible. It has never happened in the history of the world. It has never happened without conquering. So if you want to unify Africa, or if you want to unify Black people, you have to conquer all of them to unify them. That is the only way unity comes about. Greece, Hellenization, Rome, etc., etc. What you want is an alliance, a group of people that agree on issues and say that we're going to put resources and energy and money and power behind these resources, that we agreed on that these are the issues that we need to focus on. And then you have your coordination. But Black people require assimilation for unity, and that's why unity has always fallen. Because when you're requiring assimilation, you're adding another layer of friction, of heavy friction that's put in front of us, instead of just having alliances. Okay, I don't have to get down with you like that. You don't have to get down with me, but we agree on this issue. We're gonna work together. Cool. You go your way, I go mine. And that's the.
Can you give me an example of assimilation?
Essence Fest, when niggas are selling jollof rice and they have no business selling that shit there.
It's just one.
What?
It's just one.
He asked for one.
I might have
like
let me low key play Captain Save a Brother on this one. Because when he talks about alliances and such like that, I can think of one. It's the 1970s, and Portugal still has African colonies, and 3 of them had uprisings: Guinea-Bissau, Mozambique, and Angola, all simultaneously. And all being in the case of Angola, you had 3 different factions who came together to fight for Angolan independence. Now, 2 of those are still in existence last time I checked. One's called the MPLA, who've been ruling the country since independence. The other is their rivals called UNITA. After these groups expelled the Portuguese out of Angola, they tried to form a government, but unfortunately the differences are so deep. The alliance, the differences were such that the differences were such that the alliance fell apart and they had an Angolan civil war. But that's what alliances do. Unity does not mean you have to assimilate them. Unity means you guys come together for a common ground. Now, unfortunately, some people hold up. Although some people, when they talk about unity, they'll say things like, diversity is our strength. I disagree with that, even though I will say being a diverse bunch does show that we can all we can put our differences aside and come together for a common cause. But I don't think unity necessarily means assimilate. Unity means you come together to work things out without having to compromise yourselves. Now, here's a dirty word that also people forget about, is compromise. Whenever you heard groups coming together, hash out their differences, and compromise. Unfortunately, compromise has become a dirty word. Because if you're going to unite, you've got to make compromises.
So we know alliances work because that's how it works. NATO is an alliance. Sinopec is an alliance. OPEC is another type of alliance, right?
No, a NATO was an agreement. It's an agreement.
These are highly successful alliances that come together and form agreements that pretty much control the world, right? Now, for the second part, I am not talking about the Webster Dictionary of unity. What I'm talking about is the everyday practices, the everyday rhetoric that people talk about when we talk about unity. Is one way to talk about the definition, and there's another thing is how we as Black people use it, and we absolutely use unity as assimilation. We absolutely use it that way. Because at the end of the day, all that matters is color. You're Black. They don't care where you're from. When you come to America, they don't care if you're Haitian, Jamaican, blah, 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 you're Black. The world don't see you that way. The world sees you as Black, right? Having that, everybody must have that train of thought in mind. That's an assimilation. That is a great example of assimilation.
All right.
So the point I'm trying to drive home to you guys is that it is not about unity. It's about forming alliances, having things understood about. I gotta go.
Oh, all right.
All right. Hey, you know what? I can agree with that. The way you explained it, it helps me understand exactly where you're coming from. I think that what you're saying, alliances are more easier to achieve than unity, right? Because if you try to achieve unity, then essentially you're going to try to force everyone to believe the same things. But alliances are a lot more easier to achieve because you don't have that task of getting everyone to believe the same things. You have your culture, even though we're still the same skin color. This is how you live. This is how we live. But we're still Black people, and the world still looks at us the same regardless. So we don't need to be arguing with each other, at least. We need to be forming alliances with each other, regardless of what our ideologies are.
I think that we're kind of parsing phrases for the most part. Like I still think of like unity in terms of it's not a take over everybody else and they make everybody else think whatever I think type of thing. Unity is like, so we have the United States of America. We have like the coalition when we were fighting in World War II, and there was unity amongst those groups, even though they're not necessarily from the same countries. Like you have like all these different united organizations that don't have to be necessarily a monolith believing in the same thing. And a big part of what I have over there in terms of the coordination piece of things is that we don't necessarily have to all think in the same direction to get to the same place.
All right, so let me say this, okay, to that. I mentioned the Civil War earlier, right?
Yeah.
What? Who was that fought between?
Civil War
in the United States of America.
Yes, it was.
Between the northern part of it and the southern part of it. So there is a such thing as civil wars, even within a country that calls themselves united, right?
United States versus the Confederate States. They were called the CSA for a reason.
Yep.
Not to disrespect you, brother.
Yeah, well, yeah, you got a point there. But I'm gonna use another example of what about What about the disunity in Ethiopia? You're East African, so you understand that a little bit more intimately.
I'm from next door, so that's up my alley.
But is there unity there?
Austin, you definitely
Brother,
want to chime
you're
in on
talking
this.
about, okay, Bronk, let me explain something to you. You're talking about a nation about 110 to 120 million, divided into over 70 different ethnicities, and they speak about close to like 80 or so different languages. Is there unity? No, not really. Not
Negative.
not
Absolutely not.
negative to that. You have ethnic alliances. I mean, take the Southeast, for example. The southeastern part, no, the southwestern parts. They call that is they have a certain term for themselves. They call themselves the Southern peoples. It's basically an umbrella term where a plethora of ethnic minorities come together as one block. And the reason they do so is because they know individually, each of them only represents about 1 or 2% of the population. But as one group, and they call themselves the Southern Nationalities, Ethnicities, Peoples, Union, something like that. And there are a plethora of different ethnicities, Cushitic, Semitic, as well as Nilotic, and they come together as one block because they understand the importance of collectivism.
All right.
The other nationalities, because they're large enough, because they have size, because they have, the numbers, they can throw their weight around. But go ahead.
There has been many tribal wars across countries, tribes throughout Africa for a very long time that were violently bloody. Have you ever heard of Rwanda? I mean, the question is,
and Burundi,
would Gaddafi have been successful? Austin, what do you think? Would Gaddafi have been successul? What do you think?
What pisses me off about the whole Gaddafi thing, and this is what pisses me off about the whole Moors, when people like to say that the Moors were like these peaceful people that just helped advance Europe. I just did a video on them that's gonna drop soon, so y'all watch that. But with Gaddafi, they like to say, oh, he wanted to unite Africa. He was close to uniting Africa, man. He wasn't close to shit. How many states did he unite in Africa? None.
Well, to Austin's point, James, think about this. There's an organization called the Arab League. Gaddafi is of North Africa. Libyans do not identify themselves as Africans, first and foremost. They identify themselves as Arabs.
Yes.
So he with his ego, wanted to lead the Arab League, but they all laughed at him, and he decided to turn towards Africa. Much to the annoyance of his neighbors, because Egypt was looking at him side-eyed.
Like Gandhi.
Algeria was looking side-eyed.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but that's like Gandhi. Remember Gandhi at first, he called Africans animals. And then
yes, he did.
When he realized them white folks wasn't on his side, then he started helping the resistance to apartheid.
He saw the light. He was
forced to.
I can say about Mr. Gunn.
And I believe that
compelled to. Yeah.
I believe that Gaddafi would have caused war if no one did anything and let Gaddafi just completely just left him alone. All of Europe and America, which they did a lot. They put a lot of they created a lot of problems for Gaddafi. So you can't just say that he failed all on his own. There's no way anyone would say that. I know, Austin, you wouldn't say that either. But I believe that if he was left alone, him and Saddam Hussein, there would have been war and carnage, because at the end of the day, if you unite Africa and unite the currency, that's how he's going to do it. Who gets to eat? And who's going to feed those who have nothing versus those? Because what's going to happen? You're going to have to take from one country and start flooding some of those resources to others. I mean, you're not going to get away with that, because, and some people would argue, and I think Austin, you would say this too, is there are countries who have not figured out how to utilize the resources that they have. Like Congo right now, look at them. They're living in squander, and they're just, look how they're living, and they're sitting on these resources that they're being, slaved to sell at a rotten price, and their leaders aren't doing a thing about it. And those
And
leaders are
that's
not
been
going to
going
move.
on for 70 plus years, James.
Well, no,
Yeah, what's
actually,
that?
I
the
said,
Congo is
just a moment, Austin. Austin, please, just a moment. I will give you the
Well,
floor.
Austin
I said,
finna roll out, so we gotta let him get in.
oh, okay, you're right.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead,
This is a
Austin.
topic
Go ahead.
that he studies a lot, so let him cook.
Well, what I was gonna say was the Congo has been. The reason that the Congo is as exploited as it is now is because I think culturally they are destroyed. Remember, the Portuguese were able to corrupt them 500 years ago. Like they've been out of there, and the Portuguese said already that they already had a similar system to what they have today.
And they still practice
What
white
about the
Jesus,
Belgian?
right, Austin?
Wait a minute, we're talking about the Congo here, right? What about the
Congo.
Belgian?
They still practice white Jesus there too,
the
right?
Belgian.
No. So the Portuguese bought slaves from the Kingdom of Congo, which was Angola and the DRC.
Correct.
So they've been out of there. Like the Congo has been. It's a cultural thing, and again, because people would like to say, "Oh, that's just a like a white supremacist talking point that Africans sell out other Africans." They do today. They still sell each other today. In the north, in the Sahel, in places like Mauritania, they sell each other literally. And in sub-Saharan Africa, you got East Africans in Russia fighting right now because they thought they was gonna go work at a hotel. You got East Africans in Lebanon right now that don't have a passport. Africans sent them there. So when you hear white folks say that, oh, they were sold out by other Africans, that's the same. It's still going on today. So with the Congo, I think that it's the only country in the continent that's the way how it is right now, in my opinion. There's nowhere else in the entire continent that's still like that. So I don't know if that has something to do with what was the point that you said, Nyman? What did you say? It was something I was responding to, but I'm just saying it's culturally, it's a cultural thing.
There is tribalism, but let's not forget the impact that the Europeans have had, not just the Portuguese, but more immediately the Belgian.
Okay, the Belgians,
because
the Belgians did a bad thing there. I did a video about that too.
Fair enough.
But the port here, and here's because some people are like, oh, Austin, you believe what the Europeans said whenever they first got there. Well, listen, the Europeans said that the Mayans and the Aztecs were snatching people's hearts out and drinking the blood for the gods and all that. Well, the modern day Mexicans still doing that shit. So they couldn't have been lying. So if you look at what they said about the Congolese or the people from the Kingdom of Congo, Luanda and the DRC, they said that they were already enslaving amongst themselves. So it was easy for them to just buy slaves, and then they converted the king of the Congo to Christian. I forgot his name was Joao or something like that. But they converted the king to Christianity. And then, of course, Africans, it seemed like when you include God, they just collapse. I mean, that's the best way to corrupt them is with God. So
if they weren't already Muslim.
Yeah. And Tipu Tip was a Muslim in Zanzibar, Tanzania, and going into Congo, taking
He was the son of an African woman, and an Arab slave trader. You know, people forget about that. He was dark skinned, and this goes back to what I said earlier about what Islam said about slaves. If a slave woman bore a child for her slave master, the child and she would be emancipated, and that child would be recognized as his legitimate heir.
Yeah, that's radically different from what we had.
Yeah, but Tipu Tip was born in Zanzibar. Yes, he was involved in slavery and everything. And he identified as what mostly, first and foremost? An Afro-Arab, because his father was an Arab. We forget about that. And we forget that you have also people all across, because remember, we should also forget that when the Arabs were also in these parts of East Africa, they were intermarrying with some of these groups, mostly for the networking purposes and everything, and advancing their culture in Islam. So Arab supremacy was being foisted in some of these places as well. Ilhan Omar, for example, She belongs to a group in the Somali culture who talk about their partial Arab ancestry.
All right.
Well, she
So,
became
yeah.
black, and when that fraud came out, she became black.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah.
Just
So
like how the former vice president was black when it was convenient, as our friend Dr. Ron would say, Dr. Ron O'Neill would say.
Yep.
Is there anybody you guys see who you believe should run for president that you would vote for?
Oh,
No.
big shout out to Afro
That's the
Merchant.
problem.
Thanks so much for the $20. And I appreciate y'all supporting the Cash App.
$20 holla. Thank you.
$20 holla.
Absolutely.
I guess I would say when it comes to the question, I think the other gentleman asked, who would I think for president? I don't really care who's actually president, because the president is at the end of the day still a figurehead. They do take orders from other people. So the question would be who actually controls the strings of power or the levels of power, and those are your business owners, those are your multimillionaires, and that's basically your army. Those who decide, those are the people who really decide the positions of actual power. Just to the same way it is all over the world. When a nation is taken over, and let's say in Africa or whatever, it's usually always the generals. The same thing to say in Myanmar, Thailand, Indonesia. It is always the generals, so the people who have the guns, and then the people who usually back those people are people who have the money. So the question you need to ask yourself is who has the bullets and who have the guns, and can you convert them to your side of what you're trying to accomplish? That's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, because you actually have like when you have somebody that's doing a financial crime and they're stealing billions of dollars, okay, we punish that less than the guy that's going and robbing out of a cash register.
Well, that's because you got billions of dollars, though. I know if I stole $1 billion and a prosecutor and a DA come to me, I'm be like, look, I'll give y'all $3 million if y'all just loosen up a little bit. Versus the dude that go and rob the 7-Eleven, he ain't got shit. Really?
Touche, Mr. Holleman. Touche.
I mean, think about it.
No. You're on point. You're exactly on. By the way, nice polo shirt. You know,
Thank
those
you.
Ralph Lauren's are hard to come by.
I bought it for $7 off the street in Vietnam. Would you believe it?
Oh, I would. I totally would.
Same
I would
thing.
jump right in and put y'all on Dillard's. Y'all need to shop at Dillard's, bro.
I live in Scandinavia, so I wouldn't know what a Dillard is.
I can't get no $7 shirt. All right, so let me wrap up some of my slides. I'm on the last two. I think.
Sorry.
Oh no, it's all good. Like this conversation is rocking. I'm liking it. I want to kind of like wrap things up in terms of what are we optimizing when we're going with putting this content out there. And this was kind of relating back to that whole clown culture thing. Like we have to stop and think about what we're doing. Are we doing this in optimizing for views? Are we optimizing for likes? Are we optimizing for status? Is it identity or is it progress that we're after? We have to decide what it is that we're actually doing this for and what we actually want. And do any of y'all have any thoughts on that?
Do you mean as an individual or as a community?
Both.
As a community, we doing this shit for the clout, likes, and views. Me personally, I ain't doing none of this shit. I'm worried about myself, so yeah, that's where I'm at with it.
Me, it's image. Image is everything.
Yeah, that's a brand. Image is brand.
Yeah, but definitely the culture, likes and views, right? We're in the attention society. I mean, I'm sorry.
No,
attention economy. That's what you meant.
Oh,
I mean, that's the double-edged sword of social media and the internet, folks.
Well, that's also where we're going. Like, so all this stuff with the whole like money is like, okay, so money is worth a car this day. This money is is worth a house that day, or this money is worth a pencil the next day. But then the whole thing comes back to where we're heading now is like really more on the attention economy, because we're going to have more AI take over more things. What's up?
I said, who is we? My bad.
The civilization that we live in.
Yeah, I'd say collectively, civilization is all about attention right now. And I don't think that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's where that's headed. Yeah. All right, so big picture, wrapping things up on the say versus system. Equal justice. Well, we know it ain't equal. That's the slogan. Protect and serve. Kind of another slogan. It's a property that takes urgency, apparently, over the public's perception, the public's trust. Representation. It depends on who has the power to actually grasp their representation. Your population size isn't necessarily going to do it. Unity. Well, we have fragmentation. We have competition. And we have some conflict among us. So we might say and yell, hey, we want unity, but your actions are going to have to back that up. So the first step is awareness, and then coordination is the next. And we want to take all of these stories, everything that we're looking at, and we want to try to get past those first two of what happened and why it happened, and then get to what does this reveal about the system. And then from that, we can figure out what's going to happen next. And then we can figure out what do we actually want to do about it. Any closing thoughts?
Is working. Well, basically, I would just simply say this: the only true law that do exist in this world is the law of the jungle. That is the only law in the world that actually holds in the way that actually will be and must be obeyed. Any other law outside of that is just consideration. Until Black people in America and elsewhere understand that that's the only true law that actually really applies, you will always be second to people who go by the law of the jungle. With Indians, with Arabs, with any other group of people, if you don't have that mentality, you are behind the 8 ball, as my father liked to say, and you never want to be behind the 8 ball.
All right. Moving on over to Trump's America.
Can I go? Give me a couple minutes. Pass me for right now. I'm putting.
Okay, cool. Let's go over to Bronx.
I'm gonna say we really need to get these conversations going in our spaces, right? Everybody has a job. Everybody interacts with other Black people on a regular basis. I think it's very important to just try to be influential in that regard as well. Like I was just talking to my woman about possibly like just hosting dinners or events, just inviting a few of our friends and having these conversations with them, right? And then encouraging them to have these conversations with people in their space and just inviting these people locally and just getting together regularly and having these conversations. And if we can start to do that in our own communities, right, then we can actually make a local impact and we can spread out that local impact over time. But people just have to be willing to show up and have these conversations. So.
Makes a lot of sense, Ron. All right, on to you, Austin, unless you want to go and have the last word.
Yes, I had the last word. I have plenty of time. Well, I have a little more time, sorry.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess it goes over to James then.
Yeah, I would say something I probably should have mentioned before. Hey, Austin, I think you hinted about it, but have you ever done what O'Shea do a lot? Have a whole panel, not a panel like this is a panel, but have a sit down with like two Africans, 2 African Americans, and talk about this stuff, or 3, or however you want to do it. I know you talk about it, but you got any plans to do that?
Yeah, whenever I get to barber school going, we'll have a room. That'll
be fire.
The content, yeah,
that'll be fire. Okay.
And I'm actually in groups like within my city that, you know, we talk about a lot of this stuff as well. So,
and like me, I haven't crossed a lot of Africans from any parts of you know, the Black African countries that had that,
over here.
you know, like that dude that was on O'Shea Duke Jackson's show that was just wilding. I mean, he was going in on us. I ain't never met an African like that. Never. You know what I'm saying? I've never met no African. I know of them. You know, I know one that I grew up with, but he's Americanized. But my aunt was telling, you know, she told me that he's African and he doesn't really like Black people. He's one of those. He doesn't really rub shoulders with white folks unless you're paying him, but he does not like Black people. And I always wonder why he spoke to me the way he did when I was growing up, you know, and my aunt was basically saying he's one of those. And I was like, that's probably the only one I ever crossed. So Austin, you got to have the ones that are like, not like that, not that far off, because you're not going to get a dialect going because they're too negative. But ones that just say, I think Black people should pull themselves up by their bootstraps in a light way. And then we can have a conversation. Because I've never,
That's what you saying?
No, bro.
That's why I had to stop you, because I was like, I ain't never heard James talk like that.
No, I'm saying there are Africans who say that, in other words, Africans who believe that we didn't go through as much as we keep telling people that we went through, that things are the way they are for a reason. The ones who don't understand that, who do have a voice, who do have a platform, those are the ones that I was hoping you can have a sit down with, or if I can, you know, like I have an African dude that lives right across the hall from me out here in Vegas. And I talk with him. He agrees with every goddamn thing I say. You know, every freaking. Well, go ahead.
And no pushback? And he gives no pushback? Or he may not have any slight disagreements with you, James?
Zero. I swear to God, zero. The only pushback he says is he doesn't believe that African women are better than Black American women. He believes the vice versa.
Can you type in the back chat, can you please type his nationality? Just out of curiosity, I'm asking.
Nigerian.
Oh, no, I said type it, but okay. Oh, he Niger. Okay, he Niger. Okay, okay.
Yeah, he would be laughing and just like getting in on it. It's all good with him. If he's watching it, he don't care.
No. But if he's talking about like when we talk about Nigerian women, he ain't wrong. He ain't wrong about that player.
Yeah,
that's right. I wasn't. Oh, my bad. I lost my. You're right. That's unique. He said he likes Ghanaian women. That's right. I forgot.
Ghanaian women.
Yeah. I had to catch myself.
Right.
I had to catch myself. And we already know Nigerian men say Kenyan women are better.
He prefers Black Stars over Super Eagles. Those are the nicknames for the national teams, by the way.
But wait a minute. He says of all the African women in Black African countries that he's been to, and he's been to all of them, he says Ghanaian women are the best. But he says still he would choose that Black African women over the Ghanaian women because they're stern and they understand you better when you're speaking as a man. They can relate to masculine men better. That's what he says.
Oh, you mean reflecting the men? Because remember, a woman is a reflection of her man. Just like yours. Like in James, in your case, your significant other is a reflection of you, is she not?
I disagree, but
okay,
that's a subject right there, brother.
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean. Oh, I ain't trying to step on no toes. I'm just saying, when it comes to compatibility and such, So I get where your associate was talking about regarding Ghanaian women.
I have so many questions about what you just said, but that'll drag this panel all the way out.
Oh, we can do this offline. We can do about that offline. We talk about it offline. Don't worry. I wasn't being facetious, but
All right.
No. I know you wasn't, but I'm saying that's a whole that's the whole time. And I know that some subjects that I'm passionate about. That if it's not that subject and it comes up, I will go off on it, especially when it comes to race. But something like that, it's really about feelings over facts. Those kind of panels, you know how they go.
We'll talk
Especially when
about
no
that
one wants
later.
to
We'll
agree
talk
on
about it later. Yeah, I get
Yeah,
that.
when
We'll talk
when
about
they
that
don't
later.
want to
Don't worry.
agree on
Don't worry.
it goes left field. If you don't take control of the panel, it's going to go left field. If you have women,
Correct.
oh, forget it.
Oh yeah, we've had that. We've had that
forget
experience
it,
many times.
forget it.
Yeah.
You
But
got to take
anyway,
control. You literally have to turn lights off or kick people off the panel. I'm not even talking about raise the raise. I'm literally talking about, but yeah, later.
Like for, yeah. Go
So
ahead.
Trump America,
Sorry about that.
yet? Are you
No,
ready yet?
it's all good. It's all good. Yeah.
No, I'm apologizing to Inspire Truth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, all good. Hey, Trump's America, are you ready yet, or should I go to Naima?
Oh, you can go to Naaman first. It's okay.
Oh, okay.
He still got to get a few things from IKEA. Give this man a minute. Anyway, I will say first of all, thank you for having me on this. I was raised to be polite, so I have to respect my brothers. These conversations need to be had, but I hope that these conversations can lay the foundation for more concrete discussions and eventually go into more concrete actions. But I do also think that these things are going to have to take a lot more thinking, more hammering out, more refinement. But the long-term planning is absolutely paramount for any action to be taken. Because these are not things that you have to do for just immediately. We have to think generations ahead. So when we talk about this whole thing about the bigger picture and what about the stay and the reality, we have to find a way to bring those two together and tell the truth. And in the case of the United States, it's like a certain podcaster mentioned, the United States is somewhat schizophrenic because you're in love with the slogan, but the slogan contradicts with the reality. So welcome to the nut house, folks.
I like it.
Yeah.
Now you ready, Trump's America?
Yeah. So, what I'm going to say is this: to all my American brothers, use your advantage of your passport. Use the advantage of what you learned here, and carve a way for yourself. Carve a way for yourself. Carve a way for your family. We really detailed about systems and structures, and try to build your own system and structure on a micro level for your family. Right? There's better opportunities. There's better places around the world, especially in Asia. And Eastern Europe as well. Um, and yeah, I mean, just try to carve your way out of life, and just enjoy it. I think unity happening on a mass scale is probably very improbable, but just start at your community. Start at the grassroots. Get with like-minded people on a micro level, and just carve out a place for you and yours, and live happily ever after. That's it.
All right. I guess it goes back up to you, Austin, and then maybe I'll give myself an actual, the last word.
Can you relay the question to me, or is it just overall the last word?
This is just overall the last word after all that we've gone and discussed over systems and slogans versus outcomes.
Over everything that we went through, I'm actually honored to say I was here because I was tired of having stupid debates. Whenever I was debating people in my comment section, I was losing sleep almost. It was so stupid. But today I was presented with contrasting opinions that didn't sound stupid. I didn't agree all the time, but they weren't stupid. So everybody, including James, is very, very well versed on these topics. But I think that, again, when it comes to having a Black-owned business sign on your front door, I would say it's unnecessary. When it comes to understanding that some things are cultural while we're behind is also vital. We didn't get to Anthony Carmelo, thank God. Thank God for that. Because I didn't feel like dealing with that. But I think we're going to have to continue this conversation, actually. Like, I think this is a 4-hour conversation, which is almost what we did. But I think we have another 4 hours of what but we have to, I don't know. But it was great. I think this is one of the best, for me, this is one of the best ones that we've had.
Thank you. So
It's refreshing to be around intelligent people, is it not?
It was more intelligent. Like, again, I was able to disagree without feeling like I was debating with an idiot.
Good stuff.
Or fighting somebody just because they disagree. You got to fight them just to get a point across. That's. I'm already stressed out just saying that. I'm 50. I get to get stressed out over stuff. That's a freebie.
Mm-hmm. So I hope all of y'all have a wonderful weekend here, and just keep your head on a swivel. Keep in mind that you're going to be presented with a lot of slogans, but there's a difference between what the system says and what the system actually produces. And if you actually sit here trying to appeal to people on a morality basis or on a rules basis, all of these things aren't actually real. Only power is real. And if you're not willing to coordinate with others and you're just going to sit there isolated, you're not going to have the power that you need to fight systems with systems. You'll be fighting individual versus systems. And that's one man versus an army. And that doesn't give you much of a chance to win. So think about that. Peace out to y'all. Thank you for everybody that came in, everybody that contributed. Special thanks to Afro Merchant. Next time around, I'm going to have to get like a sound or a drop or something to give you something special. But that's it for today. Yeah, just like that one. We got naming for the sound effects.
Hey. My favorite character from Police Academy was Larvell Jones. Thank you, Michael Winslow, for that character.
Bro.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
All right, y'all. So peace out. Y'all have a great day.
You as well.
Bro. Peace out.